For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel funny car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Hey, it's Antron Brown, driver of the Macro Tools Top Fuel Dragster, and yes, I'm a 3-time world champ. But you know what? When I win, I go straight to WFO Radio, baby. I want to see you listening in.
This is WFO Radio.
He wants to see you listening in and watching this live stream. What's up, everybody? Joe Castello back with you for a WFO Heartland Nationals Super Show. That's right. We've got them all. Get this. We just went live. We are minutes away from Antron Brown going to join us. But then Coughlin Jr. going to join us. But then Joey Gladstone going to join us. Both of them talking about their first and second career wins back to back. Yeah. Justin Bond, Fuel Tech Pro Mod, scheduled to join us. And then we're going to bring it home with BT3, Bob Tasca. And you guys, the audience, you're going to have to keep me going, baby, because these guys, you know, Tasca is available around 2. AB's available around noon. And so we're going to be spending the next couple of hours together. You're going to be coming and going and sharing and all of these great things as we try to defeat the algorithms out there on social media. Thank you to everybody who shares the show. Great guests, great talk. We're going to bring up some topics that have extended over and spilled over from yesterday's show, namely the NHRA countdown and some of the rules changes and the Pep Boys All-Star callouts and all of these things. But right now, before we get to AB, who's already down there in the ready room, I want to tell you about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO. Super excited about Total Seal piston rings. Matt Hartford and team, Pro Stock won't be back till Indy, but we got a new episode of Hidden Horsepower podcast getting ready to drop, where you're going to be learning about base oil and how important it is to everything. Some cool secrets from the NASCAR world. Dr. Ken Hope is going to be the guest host on Hidden Horsepower. You definitely want to check it out. But it's an exercise to tell you about ring seal and why it is so vital and important. And the team over there at Total Seal says, make them your first call, not the last call. So check them out. Total Seal. From nitro to stock eliminator to exotics to Formula One, they fit the rings. TotalSeal.com. And you already heard a little bit about FTI performance transmissions and torque converters in the big money bracket racing world, the .90 world, but also in Pro Mod, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, powerful automatics or automatics that need to repeat. FTI performance transmissions and torque converters are the people that are on board with WFO, FTIperformance.com. Phillips Connect. Mr. Epler was out there. Mr. 300 was out there. Justin Ashley had a pretty good weekend going until, you know, he ran into somebody. I don't want to get into the specifics of that right at this second, but Phillips-Connect, for those of you that are into the transportation industry, over-the-road truckers, smart trailer technology, literally hundreds of sensors that can make you safer and more efficient. Go to Phillips-Connect.com to find out more information. And Bernie Speed Shop, American Classic Horsepower. And what I want you to do right at the beginning is just go to the social media, go to the website, bernies.com, and like their social. Just follow along on their social to see some of their build projects, some of the great things that they do there in Ocala, Florida. A little bit later on in the show, I'll tell you about Frank Hawley's drag racing school. I'll tell you about samtech.edu. And of course, I'll tell you about a little Patreonage. Of course, the people who want to support the show as VIP members. And then Marvin Rodak, 817-924-6821, RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com, how I get motivated every day. But now, let's go out to Brownsburg. AB Motorsports, first time winner as a team owner, 69th as a driver. What's up, Antron? How are you?
I'm doing good, Joe. What about yourself, brother? What about yourself?
I'm busy. We get ready to go to Brainerd. We're going to Brainerd. I'm flying out tomorrow. And then it's U.S. Nationals pre-race hype. So we're going to be busy. And then it's the countdown. So to the stretch run of PRI, we're going to be busy. I know you're going to be busy. But you get to talk about being a race winner now, right? Not like a hopeful team owner that set out on his own. No, a winning, successful team owner.
Joe, that was just what the doctor ordered at the right time. And we've been working hard, man. We've been keeping our heads down and working hard. And, it's just like anything else. You start the beginning of the year out and you have so much new things all together. And to get the combination to flow together, it takes a little bit. It took a little bit longer than we would like it to do. But trust me, it wasn't from not a lack of effort or trying. We probably have over 30 test laps in the books from testing various different parts, pieces, even down to the lubricants we run in our car. And now we're getting to a spot where we're getting it together just at the right time. So if we keep on going this path, I think that we're going to be ready. And we're going to be ready for that countdown, man. That's the name of the game, is being ready for the countdown to the championship.
So you're always a positive person. So sometimes it's difficult to determine if you're having trouble or if you're not having trouble, or if the team is in the weeds, or are they lost, or what's going on. You said it in the media center perfectly. People don't know what's going on behind the ropes, and you certainly aren't going to advertise what's going on behind the ropes. But so how difficult was it? Some might say it took you a long time. Others might say, halfway through a season, first season as a team owner after switching a bunch of stuff, that didn't take that long at all. What's your perspective?
I think the biggest thing is that I think that we all get trapped into those voids where you think about the success that you had for over all the years. You get what I mean? Sure. If you go back from when I started racing Top Fuel and generally, but if you take our 2009 season, which was our breakout season when we won 6 wins, you go from 2009 literally to 2017, and we won a lot of races. You get what I mean? And we competed for championships all those years. And then we had some different things that we swapped back and forth and changed different things. And technology caught up to us and went around us like other teams have in a technology standpoint. Like, in 18, 19, like everybody's doing their thing, getting their deal. And I think that's where you really saw it in 2017. That was the start. Like, Brittany Force won that championship, but that was the countdown. They got hot, the 6 races left, but Steve-O and myself were still going back and forth where we won like close to 60 rounds of racing, and he would have beat me for the championship in normal terms that year. You get what I mean? If we look at it that way, by rounds, you get what I mean? By rounds, not by the countdown. Then you go to 18. That's where Steve-O started his staple in the class, where he went and won championships 4 back-to-back, right? So with that being said, is that he really jumped out there. And then for us, we regrouped, we rebonded, reworked, and then we started off with this whole deal where we would start our race team in 2022, and we start off with a lot of different things. And to come ahead is like you got to get all that stuff to work together. We started with the CNC Performance Clutch. We switched all of our clutch stuff to the latest, greatest, newest stuff, which is that stuff is just a work of art. It's mastership. You know what I mean? When you look at it, you're like, why? People like AJ runs that stuff, or like the levers and all that different stuff. You'll know why Steve Torrence runs that and won all of his championships. I mean, Chris over there's really done a banged up job in the clutch department. And then we're like, all right, what else do we do? We start working with new stuff there, new body stuff, the new oil from Lucas Oil. And then you start adding all this stuff up, the new blocks from Point One. We're running our tried and true to DSR Performance heads. And then we're running the JFR manifold. And then you think about all the stuff that we have, and that you have to get it all to work together. And it took us time with that and personnel, plain and simple. You know what I mean? It's just like, you're regrouping, rebuilding. You got to get everybody to work well together. And at first the chemistry wasn't there. And then we had to make some changes, and we made some changes and we're coming to fruition with it. Now it's all coming together. And then we just made a recently change where we went from like our Chuck Ford blower case, our Bill Miller rotors, our DSM frames, all these parts and pieces to make a blower up. You get what I mean?
Sure.
To where we went to an AJ 4-hole injector at the beginning of this year. We implemented that. We had to make a different spacer for that to make that work. And now we're going to a Darren Mara performance engineering blower. So we implemented that into our fold in Seattle, which we already fixed a problem that was plaguing us after Denver. And then we added the DMPE on it, and it made it even better. So with that being said, once you start putting all those parts and pieces together, we finally got a combination that we can race. And now we just got to keep on honing it. And are we 100% there? You're never 100% there at all. You know what I mean? Like we go to Brainerd, it's going to show us what we're made of because the weather's going to be really, really good there. And that's going to be our first time that we can actually take our new combo and work on it to try to run those mid to high 60s. And once you get that down, then you're set up to go into the countdown, because the countdown is where you're going to need to be able to run those low 70s and mid to high 60s is what it's going to take to win that championship. And once we have that at Brainerd, and we're going to say after Brainerd, I believe that we're going to be ready for this countdown for a championship, because right now we can race with anybody from a low 70 all the way up to mid 70s to low 80s. We got that combination. But we need to work on a little bit more to make our super fast combination, I call it.
Awesome. Eddie from Garofalo's out there saying, what's up, AB? Congratulations.
Fast
AJ
Eddie,
saying,
baby.
Fast Eddie, right? The guy, like, we got to keep Eddie on our positive side now that I know what's going on over there at Garofalo's. It's like, hey, Eddie, how you doing, buddy? AJ out there saying congratulations. Everybody's saying congratulations because, you know, we wanted to see you succeed, but there was no guarantee it was going to happen, Antron. And with Caps, right? Like, okay, you and Caps going out on your own, the odds of somebody failing goes up. Like, oh my gosh, are both of these guys make it? I hope they do. And now you got a win, and that's got to calm things. But as you listed all of those parts changes, my anxiety went up a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, that's just so many things to keep track of. And now I understand when I spoke with Brian on the starting line multiple times over the course of the weekend, what appeared to be the feeling of relief, right? Like relief. Oh, thank God it's working. Like that's what Brian seemed like on the starting line, an exhale of relief. Like we've got this thing working.
Yes. And the thing about it is that, you know, it always weighed heavy on shoulders, but it weighs heavy on all of our shoulders, like all of our guys, you know, from Bryant, Mark, Brad, Matt, all Shearhart, all of our guys that work on this team. Everybody's invested and everybody's passionate about it. And we all want to win, man. And but the thing about it is sometimes it's one of those deals you gotta, like, you know, the normal saying, like you always hear, you know, you gotta crawl before you walk. You gotta walk before you run, and before you sprint. You get what I mean?
Yep.
And that's what's this basis. And the thing about it is that we had hiccups in so many different areas that we caught along the way of just little things. You get what I mean? We're overlooking the little things, and the little things were biting us. Like, to give an example, like in Seattle, okay, we qualified well in Seattle, right? And I'm like, man, this is going to be a great race day. We got a first round matchup against Leah, but we qualified, I think we fourth or fifth qualifier. And we go out there, and that was the time where you see the guys working well together. And I saw Brian up in the lounge getting dressed, and him and Mark talking like, yeah, man, we're going to put this thing on a 74, 75 run, and we're going to go out there and drop the hammer down. It'll take it. Everything's working good. The car's responding well. It's got snap. It's got this. And you know what? The car was doing it. And the thing about it, we came back, and I saw Brian with his head down, and he's going, after we lost to Leah by like 13th thou or 12th thou, whatever it was. And he goes, I didn't move the low map out the way. Like, he didn't move the low clutch map out the way because we sped the flows up. So it sped the flows up and went and crashed into a low map and shut the clutch off. And our car was like 300 quicker to the 330 than what Leah was running. Like, we were on pace. We went to 79. We're on pace to run a 74, 75. And it just parked the clutch at the 330. Right. And we ran, put it this way, whatever I think Brittany ran a 74, and we ran identical ET with her to the 330. And it parked the clutch. And we're like, we had it. And that could have been our breakout race. You know what I mean? But we know we sucked it up, came back, and we knew we're going to Topeka. And we're like, all right, we're going to go after in Topeka. And we come out in Topeka, Joe, first qualifying round, and our car's on a 77, 78 run. And it literally shut off. It was just one of our fail safes to shut the car off. It shut the car off because it dropped the hole, boost pressure once up, it shuts it off. Okay. So we ended up running the 81 at 280 mile an hour. So that ended up getting us in the number 11 spot out of everybody, right?
Right. Text message coming in, Antron Brown. He will. There he is now.
So with that being said, that's what happened. And we were like, God, dog it. And then it set up that first hard round against Brittany. You know what I mean? Which is what you got to do. You got, if you're going to win a race, you got to take them out sometime. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely. And you guys have a great rivalry. I remember years ago, you and Brittany on the planes, taking pictures of each other, just goofing around. Like, you two have got a great rivalry, and that's a kind of a harbinger of things to come. People are going to be trying to get to her early because the more runs you give to Grubnick, the better he seems to get. And so the best time to get her is probably in the first round.
Absolutely. She's a beast. She's a beast. You know what I mean? Is she's a beast. So we gotta race them hard, and that's what you gotta do. And for that, brother, we just gotta keep our head down and keep going, and once we got past that round, that really set us up for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? And we raced Josh Hart. It was no easy rounds. They were all top 5 cars in the countdown that we raced every round.
Guys, 22 on the starting line. And Josh has proven, like, when you started going high 30s on a regular basis with your reaction times, that was a game changer at the time. When you started to break out, you were breaking out partly because you could go high 30 when you wanted to. And that's pretty amazing. And the reaction times have gotten quicker and faster. But at some point, there's a line there's a line out there. Like when Mike Salinas goes 009, you're okay. Well, it's not like he saw it. Maybe he was in a little deep, or maybe he anticipated. But what's the number? Is a 22 possible?
Well, you got to remember something. A 22 is possible. And what people don't do, and this is the hardest part, because they can't never capture this on camera. Like, you hear Tony Pedregon, and he's giving props for it, which it's a great light. It's a great, great light. But the thing about it is, what I say, do it every round. Okay? And nothing taking down from Josh Hart. He really cut that 22 light because people don't realize how deep he was in. He staged the car deep. That car was deep. It was almost turned the top bulb out. So in essence, that 22 light's really like a 40 light. And Josh can cut mid to high 40s. And that's the whole deal. It's just the way you want to approach the game. He cut a 22 light, but then his 60 foot was like a 890 60 foot. We had an 850 60 foot. I was in front of him at the 60 foot clock cone because he has staged it deep. You follow what I mean? I staged it normal and had a 50 light. So his light could have been anywhere from a 45 to a 55 light on normal deal, or a 42 to a 52. Because Josh Hart can cut a light, okay? Hands down. Does he need to deep stage? I don't know why he deep stages. I have no idea. It's just what people like to do, just like John. John will throw it in there and turn the top bulb off. Is it an advantage?
Sometimes the bottom bulb.
Exactly. It's not an advantage at all. It's actually, you're setting yourself up to lose lane choice for the round to the next round. But you know what people care about? Only thing what people care about at the end of the day, the wind light. What turns the wind light on? You get what I mean? So you can stage whatever way you want to stage. Do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? What I try to do on race day, I try to do the same thing, so I do the same thing. You get what I mean? So if I cut a 38 light and I'm shallow stage, that's something. You know what I mean? That's hard to do. Only time we ever cut high 30s, so the people know, is when we're in really, really good conditions. You got a lot of fuel, you got a lot of clutch, is when you're running those mid 60s or high 60s. The car responds better, and you can cut those type of lights. But when it gets hot out, if you cut like a high 40, low 50s or like mid 50s, you're doing really, really good shallow stage. So I just try to do that and let the wind light turn on the big end. When that wind light turns on, that's all that matters anyway, right?
Right. So this guy says, without a wind light, there is no next round. Yeah, I like that it's a thing to see John and Cruz up there, as crazy as that was. Congratulations, champ. Great seeing you back in the winner's circle. So happy for you and the team. I can't wait for you to win your second win. Yeah, it's always on to the next one, right? So let's talk about the next round against you and Justin, who is, the quasi teammates at the start of the year. You told us, like, teammates. You guys split the purchases and you use purchasing power, and your hospitality is together. That was a big run right there. And apparently Mike told you that it was your day at the start of the day. Tell us about that.
Yeah, like Mike Ashley is man, let me tell you something, man. I call him a prophet. Because he always prophesizes stuff and it comes reality. This is the guy, you got to remember, in 2009, Mike owned our team.
Yes.
And Mike goes, you guys are winning the Western Swing. He goes, I'm like, huh? We just won Denver. And he told all of our crew guys that. And one of our guys, I remember Wayne Waite, Red, we call him Red.
Red, yes.
Red goes, well, Mike, man, if we win that swing, can we get one of those watches like you got? And Mike went down to the Oakley trailer and bought everybody on the team Oakley watches. And he said, I bought all you guys' watches, but you're not going to get them yet. But you guys already won them because you won the Western Swing. Is what everybody gets. He went down there and literally bought over 50 grand worth of watches from Oakley for the whole team. Like, I still got the watch. It's the one with the big flat titanium watch with all the diamonds in it.
Yes.
I got that watch. It was like a $4,000 watch. He bought them watches for everybody on the team. And I was like,
and then you went out and did it. That's the crazy part.
We went out and did it, brother, because it's one of those deals. You got to have that mindset. This is what you're going to do. And this is how you're going to do it. And all you got to do is walk the walk, but you got to put the path down. That's what Mike Ashley taught us a long, long time ago. And I see it come to fruition. And racing Justin is an incredible driver. In the short amount of time that he's been driving, he's a championship driver, and he's not even won a championship yet. And he's got the mindset, he's got the skill set, and he's got the full gambit from the marketing side, the way he talks to people, the kid is unbelievable. And I saw that at an early age when he first got his license in our car. And he was very green. Trust me, he was very green driving the car, but it impressed me on how he got it down the racetrack and how straight it was. And it's you can see it. That's why he's winning races, and that's why he's competing for championships. They're qualifying number one, and he's got an unbelievable team to fill connects people. So when we raced him, we didn't back our car down. Like, we went up there, we backed it down from the 81. We thought that it'll take an 84, 85 to win that round, because Mike Green and Tommy D and Dustin Davis Racing, who runs the team, is like, they were rinse and repeat. They came out first round eliminations, ran at 84. Next round, it got hotter. They ain't slowing down. They ran at 84. And that's what Mike Green will do to you. Rinse and repeat. He's one of the best at it, doing it like that. So we went up there, we go, well, we need to run 84. So Brian and Mark, that's what Brian and Mark were talking about, and Brad, and they slowed it down. And we went down there, but that track did a 360 reversal where it got gooey and slimy from second to third round to the semis. Like, bam! It was like, here's the grease trap. You had to navigate it down, and we were just fortunate enough where our car held on longer than Justin's to get us farther way down to the racetrack for us to get the win. And that's when the little bit of that luck was on our side for us to get down there and get through it, because we were pushing to beat one another.
You got to have it. Derek out there. Wasn't AB the first live guest on WFO? Yes, absolutely. I had new technology I wanted to try, which we're using right now. It was during the pandemic, and I was like, AB, I need you, bud. He came on. We sorted it out. He was the first live guest and kind of helped deliver WFO into this new live stream on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook era. So thank you for that. And by the way, guys, share the show. We proved yesterday, when everybody shares and retweets, we break through the algorithm restrictor plate that they put on us on the social media, and I'm watching those numbers. So let's do it. Let's share the show for AB. All right, Antron, final round. We knew we were going to have a first-time winner in 2022. So crazy that the two non-winners are you and Steve Torrence, two of the best drivers of the last decade, and one or the other is going to break through, and it was you that broke through. First person to, bless you, first person there to congratulate you was Steve. And I thought that was tremendous. They're coming around, but tell me about that moment and tell me about this moment, how meaningful it was you can think about breaking through, and you can want to break through, but until you break through, you haven't broken through. And in this moment, you knew things were different. You were now a winning team owner with AB Motorsports.
Absolutely. And like, getting out, that's one of my signatures deal. Win, lose, or draw, we always give it up. Always give up to my Heavenly Father. You know what I mean? So the coolest part is you get out and I'm just closing my eyes and I'm just giving all the glory to God and just thanking him for the group of individuals he surrounded me with. You know what I mean? Because those guys in the pits, the ones that make it happen, brother. It's like I step on the gas pedal. But, I mean, when you're think about where we're at Topeka, Kansas. The weather outside was 95 degrees, and underneath the awning of the trailers, with the heat baking down from the sun, is over 100 degrees, and they're out there sweating their tails off, working and grinding. And whether crew chiefs make the right decision or wrong decision, they're still out there busting their tail. You get what I mean? If I mess up on the starting line, they're still busting their tail. You get what I mean? So no matter what happens, and I'm just thinking about when that moment, you see me on the ground when I was pounding my fish, Joe, I was looking down. I was thinking about AB Motorsports, where we started at this off season. I thought about Brad, myself, my wife, Ted, all the guys being in the shop, and Brian and Mark flying in. And we started here where it was nothing on the shelves. That's what people don't understand. Like nothing. Like we bought our stuff from DSR, and we had this and we had that, and we didn't buy everything. Like we didn't start with all that stuff. We was like, no, we're going to start this. And I remember Brad being out there. The chassis were bare, brother. He stripped all the wires off the car, all of them. And we're going, AB, we're going to make this right. We're going to start off from scratch. New carbon panels, new this, new that. Line them out. I mean, like literally, I never forget Brian showed up at the shop one week and he came here and goes, are we going to make the first race?
Wow.
And like, we're thinking about, if we didn't even have the first truck here yet or trailer. And we got them in and the boys went down. I mean, brother, like all that emotion poured out in that moment when we won that race. Like literally like, oh God, we did it. Like we're here. Like my wife was crying. My wife giving me that kiss right there on the stage. And I'm looking and I'm just like, you think about all the stuff that we all went through.
Yeah.
Like everything, man. Like, let me tell you something. Sign up to get health care for all those employees. That was a mother-roo. Okay.
Oh, well, exactly. And that was
car.
That has never been discussed. You're a business owner. You're responsible for people. You're a responsible party. They're coming to you. You know, I got a problem. And you probably, I'm sure you thought about it, but never understood all of the details.
Like, you've seen it. We've been through it before. But it's just all that stuff. Man, it's a big deal. It's a lot. It's a lot. But the thing about it is, I wouldn't trade it in the world. Like all this stuff that we went through, it made that Wally that much more appreciative. It's like, it's not the trophy. You know what I mean? When you look at that trophy, it symbolizes all the stuff that you go through to earn it. You get what I mean? And that yes. Topeka 2022 in August, 100 degrees in the oven with the humidity chamber on.
Brutal.
Man, I tell you what, it's like, brother, that right there, that's another world championship trophy right there. Boom, right there.
Well, it really is. No, it really is. It does represent a lot. It represents a tremendous first step towards the rest of your racing career. And you can announce being a team owner and you can show up to a race, but until you've beaten the best in the NHRA, you haven't done it. And now you've done it. So let's look ahead to Brainerd and then Indy. We're upon us. It's now. You were racing against time to get right before Indy. So you can go into that and compete. And you did. And you are. So what do you see that lies ahead this weekend? And Brainerd, can you go out there and contend and compete again? and obviously Indy. Like, are you where you want to be now?
Absolutely. We've been competing a long time. It's just the round ones didn't show for it, and we're just racing the wrong people at the wrong time. You know what I mean? Like, racing has a lot of luck. You know what I mean? Like, Steve-O, like, I look at Steve-O, I look at myself. You think of all the years that we raced and we were, not dominating, but we were winning a lot of races. We had a lot of rounds that we should have lost those years, but we won. Like, other people just took themselves out by smoking the tires. Or even when you smoke the tires, they red lighted against you to try to beat you off the starting line. And you smoke the tires. So it's one of those deals where you got to be in the right spot at the right time, and you create your own luck by the way you qualify and where you position yourself and who you race at the given moment. Like, you could take advantage of it. So with that being said, it's like, we raced a lot of tough competitors, and we raced them at the wrong time where they drove down like low ET'd around, and they had their best light and everything came, all the stars aligned. If you race them another round, you would have beat them. So it's one of those deals. That's how racing goes. And with that being said, is that now our main focus now going to Brainerd is, for one, to qualify better. Absolutely. We want to qualify in the top 5, not even the top 8. I set the bar for my guys and said, we need to qualify in the top 5. Because top 5 is like qualifying the top 3 at the old school. We used to always say we want to qualify top 3.
Yep.
If you qualify in the top 5, any of those top 5 can win the race. Anybody in the top 10 could win the race. But if you want to set yourself up, if you qualify 1, 2, or 3, 8 out of 10 times you might set yourself up where you can race a competitor where you can go down there and just put down a solid lap. Like, you ain't got to drop low ET it around to win the round. You get what I mean?
Yep.
When you start qualifying 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you got to like run low ET it around to get through that round, because the other competitor is capable of doing that.
Well, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it's brutal. I mean? Well, these races, right? Troy Coughlin Jr. is going to be on next. I see him down there. See you, Troy. He won his first ever final round by 1/10,000th of a second. We're starting to see that number, like 000, and then a number a lot more often, not just in pro stock. We had one that was 5/10,000ths. It's just the field is coming together and more. The information is being spread out more. The parts are being spread out that are good for everybody. And nobody has got the market cornered on how to run quick and fast, how to cut reaction times like you did for a while anymore. And so it's anybody's game. All right, let me ask you one question before I let you go, though. This came up yesterday. I'm looking at the points. You're sitting 10th. So you're a good person to ask this, right? We were talking about the cutoff for the countdown, right? Like, Steve doesn't like the countdown. This year he might like it more. I don't know. You have to love the countdown because you've got a shot at the championship after the reset. You could go out there and win a couple races and who knows, maybe win a championship. But the fans are kind of being deprived of the who gets knocked out at Indy debate, because Clay and Austin and you and Tony and Doug are all running all the races. And so really, no matter what, you're going to make the countdown, whether you're the top 10 or not. Has that rule outlived its usefulness? Should we go back to the top 10 being the top 10? And if you're 1 point out on the outside, regardless of who you are or what you've done or who your sponsor is, you don't get to race for the championship. You follow what I'm saying? What's your take?
Absolutely. You know, I've never been a big fan of the countdown. I haven't. I haven't. You know what I mean? Like, I think that you should be rewarded for your work all year long. It's my personal opinion. You know, everybody's got their opinion. But then what happens is it makes it more interesting. Well, look at your top 4, your top 5 cars right now. They could race to the end of the year for a championship. They're all separated by like 100, 130 points or whatever it is.
162, Brittany to Steve, 162. So
and that's all doable. And if you throw a couple double point races in there, you're good. You follow what I mean? Like, you're going to run for a championship down to the wire.
Yes.
Follow what I'm saying? That's why the countdown was invented. Now, what I would say is, I always thought the countdown, you should take 10 that can run for the countdown, right? 10, right?
Yes.
Or you could take 12, okay? Let's say if you want to make it 12, okay?
Yep.
Make it 12. your top 12 makes the countdown. Okay. Then when you get to the race, you got to qualify 8 to race in the race on Sunday.
8 or better.
Yeah. Well, you got 3 rounds of racing.
Right.
Follow me?
Oh, I get it.
So what happens is 4 of those cars are not going to make the show on Sunday. And you race the last 6 races for the championship.
With 8 cars or with 12
With 8 cars. Like, no, listen, listen to what I'm saying.
I see you leaning in, AB. You got me pumped. I'm going to lean in too. Here we go.
It's like a playoff, right?
Yes.
Think about this. You want to make an interest. You reward your normal season champion like you do in any other sport.
Yes.
You got your how many races that we did up to the countdown. Say it's going to be 16. So you should get something for that.
Yes.
That should be a sponsor in itself and saying, hey, you are a normal season champ, and it should just pay out for the normal season. Just one person. Like you give them $500,000 or whatever it is, or $250,000, whatever that number is. You find a sponsor, you sell it, $1 million, whatever you want to do. And you go, this is your normal season champ, and only the champ gets the payout. Not second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth.
Winner take all.
Winner take all. Now you have a playoff for the playoff champion. Playoff championships. Last 6 races, you let whatever you want to make get in. Like if you ran all the races this season, you want to reward people for running all the races, and you cap it off at 12. Okay? Whatever that number is, you make a number up. You can even make it 14 if you want to. I don't care.
Right.
Make whatever number you want. But it's under 16. It ain't going to be 16. Okay? It's going to be a number less than 16. You got to cap it off, right? So let's say it's 12. I'm calling it 12, right? So now you take your 12, and they're all able to show up at the last 6 races. But you got to qualify to make the race. And only 8 makes the race.
Okay.
At every race.
Yeah.
8 does. Okay.
Yes.
So now check this out. How interesting does this get? So now you got the qualifying runs. Only 8 makes it. 4 does not make it. But now the points stay tight because there's only 3 rounds of racing to earn points. And I'll guarantee you not everybody is going to qualify at every race.
Right. No, because good cars. It's all good cars.
They're all good cars.
It's all good cars. Qualifying all of a sudden means a lot in this situation. And 6 good cars are going to just not race, but it's an 8-car field. So it's not like embarrassing or anything. It's just really tough.
It's tough. And then if you don't make the race, that's how you get back in the race when the number 1 points leader if a guy wins a race this one weekend or gal, they might not qualify at the next race.
Right, because it's so difficult.
And they're out.
Yeah.
You follow what I mean?
Yes,
I
do.
And then you only can get 3 rounds ahead. You follow
right.
what I mean?
Yes.
That's it.
It's not like you're getting a giant. I totally get what you're saying. Like even if you win and I don't race, you get 3 rounds on me. Next race, you might DNQ and I might win and I'm right back in it. And the moves are small. Yeah.
And you got 6 races. So tell me how interesting that would be.
I think it would be pretty interesting. All right, we'll see what the audience thinks, Antron. I love that. I love how you leaned in. Like you've never thought of that before, right? You leaned right in. This is what I think. I like it. Well, and everyone's talking about it. I'm sure you know. Everyone is talking about it. Racers are talking about it. Race fans are talking about it. Like, hey, what's the point? We do points and a half at Indy. All these guys are making it anyway. What's the point? Good discussion. All right, Antron, this is a milestone. This is a milestone WFO interview. And I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing a little time with us.
Anytime, Joe. Thanks for having me on, brother. I always love being on, man. That's a good thing. So hopefully I can see you some more times this year.
Yeah.
Quite a few. That's the game plan. We're going to try, brother. We're going to work on that.
All right. Let's work on it. Good job. I appreciate you. I'll see you in a few days. Stay safe up there.
Thank you, my man. Thank you.
There he goes. Antron Brown with us here on WFO Radio. How about that? Like a little bonus. Right, AB giving his thoughts on the countdown. And I just want to remind you, Bernie's Speed Shop and Phillips Connect and Total Seal and FTI Performance, these guys are keeping us going. Sam Tech, Frank Hawley's, Marvin Rodak, CIP1. The show doesn't happen by accident, guys. It's because people want to sponsor it because they want you. They want you. They want you, like Apollo Creed. I want you, Stallion. I want you. All right, let's go out to our first time and second time winner in Camping World Series Pro Stock. He's joining us from, I don't even know where he is. Troy Coughlin Jr. Where are you located? Are you still at JEG's headquarters? What are you doing?
Sure am, here in Ohio, just north of Columbus.
All right. All right. So I got to start off with where we left off. You just heard Antron Brown, and you heard my take as to why I brought it up. You are a lifer in drag racing, multi-generational drag racer. You've done the big money bracket thing. You've won the U.S. Nationals. You're about to be in the countdown. What's your take on what Antron just threw out on the table?
That's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. It's different. I don't know. It sounds like fun to me as long as I get to race. But
exactly.
You know,
as long as you get the race.
A lot of thought went into that. So I don't know. It's exciting. He should propose that to the group at NHRA and see what they think.
Exactly. The only thing, it's like, oh man, so the final couple of races, you've got an 8-car qualified field, which might be perceived as a step backwards, but really, in his example, it's not. It's making competition much more challenging because every car that's in the field is an A-list car, right? Like I guess you have to qualify to get in this thing. And if you bump out a heavy hitter on any given day in qualifying, that could happen. But the 8 that race have definitely earned something.
I think that would be entertaining. I mean, think about it. You know, Pro Stock's a tight class to begin with. And ET-wise, if you look at 1 through 12, there's probably 4, 5, 600s in there somewhere. It's pretty tight. So, gosh, I couldn't imagine a 12-car field fighting for 8 spots in Pro Stock. I think that'd be pretty entertaining. It's something to think about.
It would be sick. In Pro Stock, it would be sick because everyone would be within reaction time advantage of each other. You go 00 and someone goes 40 in the slowest car, you're right in the race. And so it would be insane. But it's kind of like that now. What you guys are dealing with from 1 to 16 is so close.
It's unbelievable. It's exciting, though. It's something to watch. It's something to follow. And I think there's a lot of really great characters in the class of Pro Stock, and it's been an absolute blast from the driver's seat.
All right, so let's talk about it. Like, you exercise some patience. We talked about this in Seattle and in the media center, and we did an interview with you in the winner's circle, but this is your first like long form WFO interview as a winner, and we're talking the first 2 wins. That was 1/10,000th of a second against Erica. That's you said it was the smallest margin of wins that you know of, but that's how it goes, right? Like, that's the racing gods smiled on you and you got the 1/10,000th win. You broke through, learned how to win. Now you got a second one just that fast.
It's absolutely crazy. And that's just a testament to the group at Elite Motorsports. They're just fantastic. You know, everybody's a team player and everybody's worked really hard to get this car to turn a corner, and just really excited to be there. But yeah, 1/10,000, I couldn't even fathom, you know, just very, very grateful to be on the good end of that.
Yeah, amazing. But during this period, though, we were watching you have some struggles like that, the yell, and Antron just gave us a behind the ropes, like what's going on behind the ropes with all the cars and all the teams and all the people and the manpower and just getting there. It's amazing that Elite Motorsports gets there to the track, period, with all the people and the methodical sorting of cars. Like, okay, the red car is the red car. You got a brand new chassis this year. You told us early on, all right, that's run 7, run 9, run 11, run 20. Watching the team work through the issues and massage it, or however you would want to categorize it. And please, you tell me, like, what's that process that you went through to get from new car to back-to-back race winner with the car? And I'm sure there's endless work between those 2 data points.
Definitely on the endless work. I think all the crew chiefs and every single crew member at Elite Motorsports has just done a fantastic job getting this sucker to turn a corner like this, and took a lot of testing, a lot of different combinations that we've tried between a suspension setup or clutch setup, or there's just so many things that you could try, and there's so many things that you could do to a Pro Stock car to make it work really well or not work so well. So it's been a process, that's for sure. It's a lot of frustration, but with taking our struggles as stepping stones, we learn something new every time.
All right, fans of Pro Stock, we need you to share the show. We got to break the algorithm out there. We learned this yesterday. Ask everybody to share the show. Fans of Pro Stock, fans of Troy Jegs, share the show, retweet the show, and we'll break the algorithm and we'll bust through. But I want to show you a picture that I think is meaningful in that this is a family sport. And I always say it, the family that races together stays together. Woody sent me this one. So when you look at, your dad and a Pro Stocker and you think about the road that you guys have traveled, the fact that he got a win at Heartland Motorsports Park, and you got your first win at Heartland Motorsports Park, like that's serendipity or whatever you want to call it. It's amazing that it worked out that way.
It's definitely full circle, and it's just really cool that just to say that you won a Pro Stock race at the same place your dad did 20 years prior to that, and I'm still tickled. I think that's my favorite part to it.
All right, let's talk about the round by round. So you come in as the number 2 qualifier. You got to go up against Chris McGahey. They have been just having a really hard time of it, but you can't take them lightly. And so you threw down a 65.9 and advanced to run Fernando Quadro Jr. And if there's anything that they're known for, it's reaction time. So talk about running Fernando and having to get up on the wheel.
Those guys are fast, and I figured I needed to really step up, and still wasn't even all that stellar. I think I was 36. I really thought he'd be a lot better, but just for as fast as he is, I mean, you've seen him, he was 00 the round before and 00 most through qualifying, and really just tried to stick to my focus and tried to just continue the process of making good laps on a Pro Stock car. And I really need to pick up still about 100th and a half and react. I think that would help us a ton.
Oh my God, it would not help the competition though. They would not like it. They would not like it. So that win sets up a battle against Erica. And I'm looking for a specific photograph here. I'm having trouble finding it. I'll get it. Oh, this one. This is what Elite Motorsports is. Like, this is like, Woody sent me this. You guys went somewhere and took a team photo of all the cars and everything. Like, I don't know why that was the thing this weekend, especially as hot as it was, but it is pretty crazy the assets that Elite Motorsports brings to the track to run against Pro Stock. Somebody even commented like, oh, it's too many. It's too many. But like, it's got to be a logistical nightmare with all these guys. Then again, there have been a bunch of times where it's Aaron and Erica, or it's you and Erica, like where Elite wins before the final. So let's talk about that semifinal matchup against Erica back to back. Like, you beat her the week previous. You had to beat her twice now.
Well, I would say that was my lucky round because I was 47 up front, which is usually not going to get it done against Erica Enders. Just had a really good car and made a really nice lap. And we got really lucky by about 0.005 of a second. And we marched on to the finals, and where I knew I needed to be a lot better.
Well, yeah. But you were consistent, though. I think you were 12 thou separation between like all of your runs or something throughout the day. So it just is what it is out there. Kyle Koretsky said something. Well, I'll save that till after we talk about the final, because now you're going up against Greg Anderson, and he's still trying to get 100 wins. And Uncle Jag and everybody has raced him, and the fight against Greg, even though everybody has mutual respect for each other, but Greg said it about Erica's first win. Like, I don't want it to come against me. That's all. And then she said, well, so you don't want that 100th win to come against you, obviously. And you had to get up on the wheel and take it serious, and you did.
I just wanted to win the race. I wasn't thinking about his 100th win at all, but which is a heck of a milestone to hit. I mean, what an honor to be next to somebody that's searching for 100 wins in one class. That's extremely impressive. But really was just looking to execute, club the tree, and bang the gears and make a nice lap. That was my goal. I didn't think about the 100 wins deal till we were getting out of the car.
See, and that's what media guys do. Like, we think about, how many questions do you hear about the pressure and about this, and did you want to win? You said something in the media center that I really liked. It's a take on a Bruce Lee piece of wisdom. which is really a Sun Tzu thing, which is, you said, think about the process, don't think about the outcome.
Oh, 100%.
And what great advice. Tell everybody why. Like, why the process, not the outcome.
Well, I mean, if you're stuck on the process, you're just going to get lost in your activity that you're doing. Meaning you're going to be so focused on what you're doing that you're not even going to feel those butterflies of, I really want to win. Am I going to win this? It just keeps your mind on what it takes to make a good performance, therefore usually yielding a really good result. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, but you definitely strive for that. But when your mind's on the process and you're on the goals of what it takes to make a good lap, that's letting the clutch out, keeping it in the groove, and hitting your shifts. And really, your mind isn't clouded with, well, what if I get beat? What if I'm 70? What if I'm 110? What if I completely miss laying on the limiter on the 1-2? And what if I muff my burnout? Or, there's lots of things to think about that'll cloud your mind, that'll put you in a completely different state.
And you've driven a lot of things. You've driven a Top Fuel dragster. You've driven a Pro Mod. You've won the U.S. Nationals and .90, big money bracket racing. Tell us about Pro Stock. You just listed like 6 things right there that you could totally ruin your run and lose a race and embarrass yourself with, right? They're hard to do a burnout. They're hard to launch. They're hard to hold on the starting line. They're hard to shift. Oh, I hit the limiter. I've lost. Like, all of those things go into being a successful Pro Stock racer.
It's extremely mind-boggling how difficult it is to drive an NHRA Pro Stock car. Anybody can really drive one, but can you drive one consistently, and can you drive one well in a winning type? It's difficult. You lay it on the limiter, you're losing momentum, you short stick it, your power's not all applied to the ground, and there's just so many ways you take it out of the groove. Next thing you know, you're up spinning on the tire, and this tire's hooking, and it's just not going to work. So there's a lot of cognitive focus that goes in this class. It's a lot of how do I say it? It's a lot of intracranial activity. That's for certain. You have to stay focused and try and enjoy it.
Yeah, and I can imagine it's also challenging to get there, right? To get in that spot, that very tight competitive spot where you can focus on what you're doing, worry about the process, not the outcome. It's 100 degrees out there. You're dying. Everybody's dying. It's brutal, but you got to get up on it, and you got to cut that tree. So you win the race. That's 2 in a row, and you get to take that to the house for a couple weeks because you guys are not in Brainerd. And I see Joey Gladstone down there. He's going to be next. He won his first 2 races back-to-back, Sonoma, Topeka. You won your first 2 races back-to-back, Seattle, Topeka. And then neither of you get to go to Brainerd. The next time we see you both will be at the U.S. Nationals. I know the Brainerd people love Pro Stock and Pro Stock Motorcycle. I understand the schedule, but I'm sure you want to race every opportunity now that you've broken through. Your next opportunity will be Indy.
Believe me, even before, I wish I could race every single weekend. I'd love to be racing 52 weeks out of the year. That's for certain. But being without Brainerd, it's a bummer because I've always loved going up there as a kid. The fans are cool. The hotels are neat up there. The track's phenomenal. The weather's usually somewhat warm. There's just too many positives to list.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now my question. Headline on NHRA.com, Kid Chaos, talked to him about it. He says, no, you mean don't put Erica's name on the trophy just yet, was basically it. Now, she dominated, better than anybody. You're right there in the pit area, watching the call, same guys working on your cars. The kind of first half of season she had, insane. And, she lost one to Stanfield when the car filled with smoke. You beat her by a 10 foul, right? See, she's not having a bad stretch. It's just the brakes are going against her. Crazy stuff. But Kid Chaos said, hey, don't put her name on the trophy just yet. What do you think about that? Because I'm thinking you got as good a shot to win this championship as anybody. And Aaron Stanfield. And I think Erica would be the first to say, but what's your attitude about it, considering she's the, as the leader in the clubhouse right now?
Well, she's had an absolute heck of a year, and it's extremely impressive to look at her statistics, especially her reaction time. Box score and eliminations is unbelievable. It's never over till November, and you really can't. That just goes back to my just sticking with the process. Just need to make one good lap 7 times a weekend, one really nice execution 7 times a weekend. And if you can do that, you have a legit shot at being a world champion.
All right, a couple of questions out there. Eddie from Garofalo's, by the way, is like going to races now. He's out on the tour. Do you prepare differently for different drivers, or do you prepare the same way every time regardless?
I'm usually about trying to be consistent, just because I'm trying to keep my thoughts and my mindset consistent. So really, I'm just trying to approach it the same, try and be as best as I can be up front and keep it in the groove and club the shifts.
Here's an interesting question. Mike says, what's it like being a Jeg and your family? What I don't know exactly what that means. He's obviously typing mobile on YouTube there, but it is interesting that you are in this multi-generational drag racing family that is viewed as, I don't want to say royalty, but certainly beloved by the sportsman racers, the bracket racers. Everybody gets their stuff through you guys. Like, that's got to be an interesting experience.
Yeah, well, we are bracket racers. I mean, we're always going to be, super gas lovers and bracket racers, and it's never going to leave us. It's who we are. But, it's a lot of fun being in this family, because at the family dinners, you're passing around a practice tree. You're talking about old races, and it's exciting because we're also interested in drag racing. So it really fits. So it's a lot of fun. I'm very, very blessed and to have such an awesome family, and even the great family at Elite Motorsports, the way how hard they work and as passionate as they are, it's the same deal. It's one big family. That line of high fives that you see, that's right after the national anthem. Everybody's they're for each. We race with each other and for each other. We're there for all of us to be together and to be competitive and win. I mean, you're probably always going to see us all on the starting line, and it's exciting. If you like family and you like sports teams, this is where it's at. It's pretty cool.
So this happens as the national, because I'm on the stage. The anthem singer is next to me. It's going to be our great friend and listener, Sammy Eubanks, this weekend up there in Brainerd, by the way, guys. But so this is happening in the pits as we got 2 fuel cars in the water box and we're playing the anthem.
Yep. Every single race, that whole line, it usually takes a minute to get through.
Man, I want to see that. We got to send somebody over there to record that. That's really cool. We are, all eyes are on the starting line, right? All right. So Woody sent me these. What's going on here?
We were at the Lake Tahoe, and Bo got a couple boats, and Richard also got one, and we had a ball. We're just team bonding. That's something we're all very good at.
Yeah, I see Freeman over there playing Candy Crush on his phone, bonding. Look at that.
Sure, he's probably making a sale of some sort. That guy, he's pretty darn good at selling, and he doesn't stop working. So it's his work ethic is unbelievable.
You better not stop working with 7 pro stock teams and all those rigs going over the road. Keep working, Richard. Get back there. Any final thoughts for the audience out there, Troy, before we move forward? I always, I love pro stock. I love pro stock, and I get pro stock, but some of the nitro fans out there, they don't understand. Some of the nitro drivers are like, why do we even have pro stock? But this is my mission, is to make, to cleave off some fans, to bring them on, to continue to grow the fan base of pro stock. So you've driven everything.
Well, that's a great mission. And I would love to be a part of it. But come to the races, come to the ropes, come talk to us, come check it out. If you have questions, hail us down, ask us. We want to talk. We want to show you how great this class is and how competitive it is, and how there's a lot of work involved. Just like the nitro cars, there's tons of work involved in anything in drag racing, from super street to top fuel. It's loaded with work.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
Come check the characters out and check the cars out and come talk. We want to see
there it is. So I'll ask a question. What do we got to do to get White Castle out there on a regular basis? You've had White Castle on the back of your car. First time was in Norwalk. I went over to the pits like, hey, where are the White Castles, man? And you hooked me up, right? Like, that was fun. I did get huge, but now it's all mostly off. But I think that's kind of cool that you're repping those guys. What are they? Family friends?
Yep. My buddy Zach, his uncle is Dave Reif, who is a head of the manufacturing and distribution side. I've always been family friends. It's a great local company that started in Wichita, but ended up coming to Columbus in, I want to say, 1936. Just a great local company. I love how family oriented they are. The little cheeseburgers are amazing. They're not too filling, but not filling enough. You can get them in your freezer aisle if you don't have a White Castle restaurant locally. If you go to your frozen aisle, you'll see the White Castles, and they're definitely worth it. Something we've always had in our family.
I like the idea that with Jegs, everyone thinks, oh, it's always going to be Jegs. But I like the idea that you're reaching out beyond to a non-endemic sponsorship that, we can enjoy at 2 a.m. Certainly. And there is one in Indy, which I have hit on a regular basis coming back from the track.
There's a couple.
Yeah. Great job as usual. Enjoy your week off. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with this weekend? You're going to go race? You're going to hang home?
I'm going to be loading some content onto jegs.com with some new parts, and going to be working around the shop here and on the simulator every day. Excellent. Well, good luck. We'll see you in a few weeks in Indy. Congratulations on win number 1 and 2 back-to-back in Camping World Pro Stock. Way to go, Troy. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor. Awesome. No, it's an honor to have you. Way to go, Troy. Appreciate you. Say hi to everybody for me. There he goes. Troy Coughlin Jr. with us here on WFO 20 years after his dad won. He won at Heartland Motorsports Park. What's that about? I also like this Elite Motorsports line. We got to go get some shots there. All right. We are rolling along. I just want to shout out to the people who make it possible. I see Joey Gladstone down there. We got a really cool thing. Winning this first and second race back to back. Neither Joey or Troy is unique. They have both been able to do that. And I think it is pretty amazing, actually, because now it's go time. It's championship time. You got to be going good. All right, let me tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, frankhawley.com. You can drive a dragster. You see these guys, they love what they do. You can get a little taste at Frank Hawley's. Driving a dragster. They'll even set up a race for you if you'd like, the Dragster Adventure Challenge. Go to frankhawley.com. It makes a great gift for the holidays. samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. Like if you want to become a machinist, an engine builder, an EFI tuner, a CNC programmer, you need a good education to start out with. And there's really endless job of opportunities out there. So go to Samtech, call Brian Massengill and tell him you heard about it on WFO. And then, of course, there's Marvin Rodak. The coffee, the hot sauce, the spice rub, everything is so good. Call Marvin, 817-924-6821. Later on in the show, I'll tell you how you can become a Patreon and part of our VIP listener club. We're going to have a meetup out there in Indy, the Patreons. But right now, we're going to go out to, I don't even know where we're going. Maryland? Joey Gladstone, where are you at?
I'm in Ashland, Virginia.
Ashland, Virginia.
Right here at HTP Performance, actually. And some of you might know, some of you might not. My tuner is Cecil Towner of HTP Performance. And this is his shop. And my shop's right next door. And this shop's way cooler. It's way neater, way nicer. So decided to do it from over here. And also, we could show off a couple cool motorcycles in the process.
Great. Well, first, let's talk about you. And then if you want to tour us around or whatever, you're welcome to do so. I see you got your Fatheads gear, Rico, and that company coming in big time into NHRA the past couple of years. Just tremendous. But this has been a long journey. Like, you're a young guy. So people think, wow, young guy, he's won a race, 2 races now. That's great. But you've been on this journey for a long time. And even in the NHRA. So kind of like wrap that story up for us as you're now at a new beginning as a race winner. And get here, there was a lot of work.
Yeah, my journey really started. My drag racing journey started in 2007, but I've been involved with drag racing for a long time. Since I was a baby, my dad has been drag racing cars, and every a couple times a year we'd get to go out to national events and regionals and stuff, and I loved it so much. I always wanted to do it. So when I was younger, I've always been the smallest kid in class. And when I was 12, around 12 years old, I noticed that the pro stock bike guys and girls were on the small side, and they were using their size to their advantage. And I thought that was really, really cool. So I wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle. So I started riding some dirt bikes, learned how to do wheelies and control bikes and things like that, clutch and all that stuff. And when I was 16, and so it was 07 is when I started in AMA Pro Star with just a junkyard motorcycle. We actually literally went to a motorcycle junkyard and got a motorcycle and fixed it up. My dad got the fixed up the carburetors and we lowered it. Oh, yep, you got it. You got
Bang.
that.
How about that?
Dude,
Jack from Cycle Drag sent me that one. He said when you won, he's like, dude, you're going to need this picture.
Dude.
And he sent it. And now that's the bike we're talking about.
Dude, that bike, wow, you did your homework on that one. That's ACO 2007. That's my first Pro Star race. They called that the Pro Star. They called that the U.S. Nationals when we had Pro Star. And that's a 94 Katana 600 with, rusted up headers, just all scratched up. And you see how small I was back then. I was wrestling 103 back then. Those were actually my wrestling shoes.
Wow.
Which, and we couldn't get a jacket small enough. So we got I think it's a ladies jacket. And I was wrestling 103. That was my junior year. So it's probably 101, 102 pounds. That was fun. You see my dad, he was with me the whole time and, he loved it. But I rode that bike for, I'd say 6 or 7 months. And there was a class in AMA Pro Star, which then turned to AMA drag bike, that looked like we could kind of afford to do it. It was called Super Sport. And it took a stock motorcycle. You lowered it. No engine mods. You gear it. And do little tweaks and changes, like almost pro stock stuff, really, really small stuff that adds up to ET. And we borrowed some money, bought one of those bikes, and I did that for 2 years. My first year, I didn't have a lot of success in it. I was still learning how to do it. I went to a couple drag racing schools, Ricky Gadsden's drag racing school. He helped me out quite a bit. And by the end of my first year, we made it to a final round. And then the next year we had a lot of success. I think finished second in the points or something like that. And then after that, that bike stayed with me for quite some time. We found some more money somewhere and put a turbo on it and raced real street, which was, like the next class up as far as speed and elapsed time. And then I started getting into like kind of the bikes that you see behind me here. Like these really long, stretched out, wild looking bikes. And
sure.
I actually got an offer from DME Racing to ride their Pro Street bike for the 2012 season. And we had a string of 5 or 6 years where we won every championship that we competed in. And that's what I spent most of my career doing was Pro Street racing. And then sometimes I would grudge race, not too often. A lot of other riders would do a lot more grudge racing than I would. I wasn't too popular in the scene. But then every once in a while we could lease a pro stock bike and get out there and get my license and stuff, but never anything serious, never anybody like really calling me up wanting to race for a whole season. So when I finally got the call to do a full season, I jumped on it, and it was a big decision for me because I had a lot of success in Pro Street. It was, the team I was on was fantastic. There was top-notch equipment, and I was sponsored by Vance and Hines. Everything was really good, and I kind of walked away into the unknown, like if I could even do pro stock. And but I felt like it was a risk that I needed to take if I was ever gonna, you can't accomplish anything if you don't try. So we tried it, and then I got addicted to it, and I wasn't having a lot of success. I taste a little bit every once in a while, but just kept chasing the dragon, and then I leased a bike for a while from Joe Riccardi, and then the Underdolls was next, and Greg Underdahl really taught me he refined my riding style and helped me actually have successful ETs with a pro stock bike. And then I know it's a long story, but it's
listen. You've got plenty of time. Right. Like this is your first and second WFO interview. We're on. Yeah. I've got to go. My next guest is at 1:45. Justin Bond, 2:00. Bob Tasca. Every second you take up with entertaining, interesting storyline is great. So keep
10-4.
going.
All right. Well, 10-4. So
Yeah.
left off at, I rode with the Underdogs for, I think the first 10 races of, it's 17 or 18. I can't recall. But then I'd become really close with Corey Reed. I met him in an all motorcycle race, earlier that year. And I was riding one of these wild bikes back here, and it was a bike called Tink Tink. And it was kind of a revolutionary no wheelie bar bike. We had set the record back then it was 646 at 227. And back then nobody had been quicker than 668. So it was in the course of like one weekend, that bike kind of took the world by storm. And Corey loved it because, I was racing in a class called Pro Open, and he was testing his Buell with George Bryce in that same class. And we got lined up in the semis, I think. And he was going 680s, but I was going 640s. So it just, we met there, didn't see each other for a while. And then we saw each other at the NHRA races. And we, just like, hey, you like drinking beer? Yeah, I like drinking beer. And then we started hanging out, came drinking buddies, and we're hanging out. And I think like 4 or 5 races went by. And this season, the season that I was running with the Underdogs, I was on a shoestring budget. I've been a normal guy my whole life, making a normal salary. So to think that, on normal, $40,000, $50,000 a year salary, you got other bills to pay for before you lease a pro stock bike, So I was kind of on a shoestring budget, and I was staying on trailer floors, the cheapest hotels I could. And Corey, one time I think we were in Sonoma, maybe. Yeah, it might have been Denver or Sonoma. He asked me, he's like, where are you staying? It's like, I'm staying in the trailer floor. And he's like, oh, no, dude, I got room in my camper just to stay in the back bedroom. He had a fifth wheel, really cool fifth wheel with a toy hauler thing. So I stayed back there, and then I just kind of kept staying with him. He's like, you can stay with me anytime you want, And so I was staying with him, and then I would hang out with him more at night. We'd go over to hang out with Jim and Annie and Killpack and Steven and all them. And I kind of started getting closer with the family, and then we'd go to the river together and hang out. And then by the end of that season, Jim Whiteley was just like, why don't you just, work for me, work for Corey, and work for the race team. And, you gotta work, if you want to ride, you gotta work. And I was like, yeah, it's a dream come true. Sign me up. So I packed up my life and moved to Florida, down to stay. I rented a house down in Florida near Corey's house, and we just went for it. We at that time he was with Larry Morgan Racing, and then we did that for a year, and then we decided to take over our own engine program and move to Virginia, because Cecil Towner was doing our tuning. And he had a little bit of extra room in his shop so that we could set up an engine room. And we started building engines here. And actually, this is the old engine room.
There we go.
Here. That's the old engine room right there. Now, we don't race V-twins anymore, thank God. And
why? Thank God. It's just I hear they're very different.
Way too much work. Okay. Yeah, they make great horsepower. They're cool. It's cool doing your own engine deal. But we've been there, done that, spent that, because it's the V-twin stuff's very expensive. Everything you buy from SNS is expensive. Just a small glimpse into, pro stock motorcycle V-twin racing like that people might not get or might not have heard before. Pistons, $400 to $600 a piece, depending on if they're coated or not. Connecting rods, $500 a piece. Cranks, $4,000 a piece. Then every single billet cover on that thing is hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. Then you got your cam cores at hundreds of dollars a piece. You've got let's see what else. Cylinder heads, $4,000 a piece, raw, without ports. Then you got to pay a guy to port it, and then you need all the stuff to outfit it. The valves are $200 a piece. They're so expensive, and the V-twin stuff. It's like riding a paint shaker. It's like, bolts just fall off of it for no reason. Even on bad fast passes, they still feel like the world's ending. So, and that all the vibration and stuff, it tears up engine parts too. And when they go big, and they cost you a lot of money when tearing up a cylinder head is tens. I mean, it can be upwards of $10,000 when you throw a rod out the front of it. So it's nice to be. It was really cool at the time when we took over our own engine program. We were able to find and develop horsepower, get our own stuff running good, and there was a huge sense of satisfaction with that. But we had a water brake dyno at the time. We were dynoing, but man, I'm telling you, when it's two full-time guys on the race team and you're maintaining all these engines, especially V-twins, it's 40, 50 hours a week minimum on your engine program. Then you got to maintain the bikes and the race trailer. But the problem with that is you're just relying on sponsorship money to go for your day to day. So we figured it'd be a good idea to, streamline the program, go with, Vance and Hines stuff. They make killer stuff. Their chassis are top notch. They're the way they build an engine, it's very reliable. It's an affordable way to go racing, and they give you enough power to win. So we decided to do that, and then that way Corey and I, he knew I was a machinist by trade, and I love doing performance like engine machine work. So we bought a couple machines. We bought a CNC machine, a brand new Sun and Hone, a rod hone, and now we can do all these bikes, back here, that when they go racing, stuff breaks, stuff goes on. They need to be honed. New sleeves need to be put in blocks, and now we can go racing for less money, and actually have our own business.
Yeah, customer work
for when we come back, and we can actually make money to live off of. So it just seemed like the right career move for us, and I don't regret it at all. I think it was a great call. So,
that is awesome. Terry Sutton out there saying, "Quit picking on the V-twins, Joey," is what he is.
Hey, look, I think it's great. I think the V-twins are awesome, and what they do with that terribly designed engine, it's a V configuration is very hard on stuff, but they're like what Matt. I have nothing but respect for what Matt Smith and Angie have done with that engine program, especially. Their engines are more reliable than my V-twin engines were. They'll run an engine for most of the year, and I give them pride. And they make big power doing it, and so did Vance and Hines when they had their V-twins. They made big power, and their stuff was so reliable. Maybe I was doing it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I didn't get enough time, but man, was it sure expensive enough to warrant a change. But yeah, it's everybody has their own past and their own preferences. I want a Suzuki now, so I'm just going to be a little biased.
Well, you got your first 2 wins on a Suzuki, so you got to be biased. All right, let's talk about the race wins, and then we'll come back to a couple of things that I'm interested in. But you were the number 1 qualifier. You were the quickest of every run down the racetrack. Like every round through qualifying and eliminations, you had low ET. That's tremendous. You've got a great hot weather setup, but you still got to do it. Right? You got through Jerry, you got through Angie to set up a final round against Eddie Krawick, who you said early on was like in many ways a mentor to you, and that whole relationship with Vance and Hines. That's just, serendipity stuff, right? Like the way things tend to work out, both in Sonoma and then now here. Talk about running Eddie. He's definitely was coming at you. You're 009 in the final. And you won the race, and now you're not just a one-time winner; you're a 2-time winner.
Yeah, it was cool to solidify that in the first win in a quick fashion like that. That was really cool because winning to me was one thing, but it's like, all right, I kind of gotta back this up, and it wasn't just my riding that did it. It was my bike performed flawlessly for me. It was kind of I liked the way that this weekend was because, like you said, it's a hot weather tune-up, but every track's still a little bit different in the air at all these facilities, different parts of the country. Even though it's still the same correction factor, how you get to that correction factor might be different, whether it's humidity, temperature, physical elevation, things like that. How you get to that correction factor is different. So we had a few things to compare off of, but like the correction factor that I have in Kansas is not, even though it's a 109.8 correction factor in Kansas, doesn't always relate to a 109.8 correction factor in Virginia. I liked how it was kind of more of a level playing field for everybody. The guys without any, and nobody had any notes. So it was kind of like everybody was green. So we put in something that we thought might be close, and it really worked good on that hot start line. We really got it all. Our bike, it went good out the back, but you can see with like Matt and Angie's V twin, they still have more horsepower out the back than we do. They went, I think Matt went like 198, Angie went like 197 and stuff like that. But we were doing it all up front, and that enabled my bike to travel a little bit better and get good back half numbers too. But really, it was all starting line. I think it confused a lot of people in order to go quick there, you had to get off the starting line quick, but the track is so hot and greasy that it's hard to get off the starting line quick. So you have to attack it in different ways. And our setup just worked really well. And honestly, I didn't touch not even hardly anything that would really matter, that would warrant an ET change. And honestly, the same tune-up that I had in the finals was the same as E1, E2, E3, Q1 and Q3. So the only time I changed anything was Q2, and that it went slower. So we went back back to the original stuff.
Well, because the weather was the same, hot as can possibly be. It was
right.
Brutal, and you guys unloaded fast, and you stayed fast. Oh, Michael Phillips out there. He says, "Let's go." He says, "Let's go, champ." There he is.
I gotta give a shout out to my boy Mike. It's been so much fun winning with him. He's been there he's been with me for 4 or 5 races now. Helping out and helping me cool the bike down and looking for different things. Making sure the bike's healthy and stuff like that. And he picks a really good spot on the start line too. But it's been so much fun winning with him. I'll tell you what. After that first and second win, well, just hanging out afterwards, I can only imagine what he's like after he wins. I hope I'm there. Because man, my voice is still hoarse. I bet you he can't even talk right now. We were just yelling, screaming, partying, having a good time, and he'll keep you laughing for the whole night. It's awesome.
My listeners know that going back very far, I have been saying that the category is better when Michael Phillips is in it, because he's not afraid. He puts it out there. He's got a good personality. He'll cut up. He'll go after you, but in a fun way. And, look at what happens with him and Reinhart, right? Like they're just battling, incessant battles. And it's great. And so I do want to see him get another opportunity out there, but he's putting it all into you. And since he came around, like, I don't know, if it's coincidence or is he adding that much? Obviously he's adding, you just said so. But it's like a team is coming together, right? Like the chemistry. You guys have got this chemistry where you are not afraid to go have fun, but you also do the work in your own way. And now it is working in a way that's getting you race wins.
Yeah. I think there might be a little psychological thing to it too, because if somebody sees you having that much fun and doing good and all that stuff, it might be might make them question how they do things, which would be kind of funny, I guess. But Michael's actually for me the biggest one of the biggest attributes for Michael to me is he's a really good race coach for me. He gives me the confidence to win. He always tells me all the time before every round, who gonna beat you? And if I say the wrong thing, he'll get mad. If I say, well, this person's got a pretty good chance at it, it's like, what? He'll stop. No, we're gonna beat you. And he gives me that confidence and that like that little edge. It's like, yeah, nobody. Let's go do this thing. Let's go win this race. So he's been a really good racing coach, and that's something that I've always in my earlier career. That's something I would struggle with on pro stock, especially because you tend to overthink. Even though these guys and girls are 4 or 5-time world champions next to you, it's still you got to block that out, because if you treat it like qualifying, because most of the time on qualifying sessions I would do good and I would be ahead of people in qualifying, so there's no reason I can't do it on race day too, And he's helped me realize that as long as I see green and make a good lap, I should be able to beat these guys, and girls.
Interesting. I remember watching you go when you first came into the sport. I just, I don't know. I could see you're a talented guy and all, and you're having these 00 lights like all the time and losing, right? Like 009, Joey Gladstone lose. And it happened to you a lot. Like I was shaking my head, like, when is this guy going to catch a break? Right. And then it took much longer after that even to catch your break. And I'm wondering, now that you're at the top, literally, of the points, and you've won 2 races. Those times had to be very difficult. Were you able to maintain confidence through that when you're like 009 loser? You happen to be there, but you had won wherever you had been. So talk a little bit about that.
It gets to a point where it gets frustrating, for me at least, when especially it became almost like a joke when I had that string. I remember that string of double O's that you were talking about. I went like 00 6 or 7 times in a row in first round and lost every time, and finished it in Brainerd with a perfect light against Angel in first round and lost. And it was, dude, it's like, what else can we do? It's just not meant to be. Then, but then you get around your support system, your wife, your parents, your race team, your tuners, all that, they just stick with it. They encourage you to keep going, and they get you back. And then you get a little taste of success. You have a good test session that gets you amped up for the next race. And then, or something in the race shows a little promise, and you're amped up to go again. And, it would be so much harder for me to just give up and walk away than it would be to just take my lickings, because if you just give up and walk away from it all and say it wasn't meant to be, what was it all for? And that's my opinion. Some people might say, oh, I enjoyed the ride, whatever, I'm good. But that's not for me. I got to get something out of it.
I get it. Now, well, you're married, you got a kid now, you're setting the groundwork. You got this really good thing going on. And I think it's exciting. I think you've got star power, honestly, for the sport, right? Like the look and the whole thing, the attitude. I think it's exciting for fans of Pro Stock Motorcycle. Hopefully they share the show so they can get to know you a little bit more and push it out there. I think they will. But let me ask you about Pro Stock Motorcycle. I'm an NHRA guy. I love the bikes because of NHRA, and I watched all of that, but regular other motorcycles, I really don't have a lot of knowledge. And so, Eddie Krawick telling me, and Andrew, like, dude, there's these bikes, they go 220, no wheelie bar, all this stuff. And I know you've ridden, and Pro Stock Motorcycle 200, naturally aspirated, slower. And so I want to, get the Harleys, the Top Fuelers. You got what Spider-Man's doing. But explain to people out there, why is Pro Stock Motorcycle the great challenge that it is when some of these other bikes are so much faster?
Well, nowadays, it used to be there used to be quite a few different combinations that were extremely difficult to do. There was, back in the day, there wasn't before there was even air shifters, people were foot shifting motorcycles, and before there was lockup clutches that people would have to ride the clutch out and give it a certain amount of gas and give it a certain amount of power. And there's still some classes like that out there in motorcycle drag racing where it really takes the talent part of winning to do it. But as the times have gone on, there's become different rider aids like Gen 2, what we call Gen 2 clutches, centrifugal lockup clutches, 2 steps where you can just go full throttle and let go. Most bikes out there now auto shift, except, and I'll get to where Pro Stock bikes difficult here in a second, but there's auto shifting aids to where shift lights you don't even need them anymore. There's wheelie sensors now that can, if the bike doesn't have a wheelie bar, if the front tire starts to come up, you can tune that, and as long as your tuner's good, you can tune timing out of it, and it'll put the front end back down. There's different things that you can do that as time has gone on that have made. It's not only has it made it's made riding technically easier, but it's also made the bikes faster, and it's opened up avenues for other people that might not have been able to do it before that can do it now. So it's all great. Like, technology's great, but Pro Stock is still relatively archaic compared to that. We do have centrifugal lockup clutches, so we do leave. When we leave, we have a 2-step, and we drop the clutch lever, and you better be ready to put your hand back on, because if not, it's gonna, your hand's gonna come off. We have our air shifters are air over air. So the difference, there's 2 different styles. There's electric over air and air over air. When I hit on your left thumb, normally on your left thumb, you have a button. And when that light comes on, you got to be on it, and you hit that button. So on a Pro Stock bike, it sends air down to an air switching valve. So it's got like a little plunger or something. I never really dissected one, but it's an air switching valve, and that opens up that opens up that switching valve and shoves 120, 140 psi into a plunger that hits your shifter, right? So an electric over air shifter would enable you to auto shift because the ECU can see a certain RPM. It'll go up and hit that RPM. It'll hit that electric switch, and it'll open up an electric solenoid and let air go through into the shift ram. So there's no, I think auto shifting has been done in pro stock before, and people have been caught. But it's a big no-no. It's if you get caught doing that, you're going to be, blacklisted for a while as far as the riding community. But then after that, there's pro stock motorcycles are set up right on the edge. If you want to go low 670s, high 660s at 200 miles an hour, you really got to ride them a certain way. There's, if you just go up there, if you literally just put it in first gear and drop the clutch and just go along for the ride and then eventually hit the button and you're doing this and then you come down like that, you're going to take 2/10 out of the pass. You're going to take what could be a low 680 bike and turn it into a 7.0 bike, or even worse. If the way that your body is positioned on the pro stock motorcycle, your timing when you let go of the clutch, if your head goes back, that changes your center of gravity. You hit the wheelie bars harder, comes up, unloads the tire, spins the tire, shakes the tire. Then you're spinning the tire, you're not moving forward. So then the power comes in, it spins even worse. Forward momentum is everything in pro stock. So you have to get as much traction as you possibly can, put as much power to the ground as you possibly can, and move forward as fast as you can. So us being such a large part of the weight bias with no suspension on the motorcycle, the way that you position yourself and your timing of when you move onto the back seat, how you can't lean it. If you lean it, you get on the corner of the tire, it starts to spin the tire, you lose back half. So when you have to correct it, you have to shift your hips over or shift your shoulders over, keep the bike square, get back over. So there's so many little things in pro stock. Pro stock is not necessarily the hardest thing to ride. It's the hardest thing to ride, in my opinion. It's the hardest thing to ride correctly, to get to make somewhat of a perfect pass.
That's awesome.
That's why I'm out doing it, because it's so hard to get right that when you do get right, you reap the benefits of it, with low qualifying numbers. And then also I'm in pro stock because I want to race against, Eddie Krawick, Angel, Andrew Hines, Matt Smith, Angie, Karen, Jerry, all these amazing racers that have, been doing it for so long and have so much success. I want to be like them. So that's why I'm out.
Well, what's funny is that it's very similar to pro stock car, right? Not the hardest to drive, but the hardest to drive.
Right on the edge. Right. The pro stock cars are gnarly. They hit the start line harder than a fuel car, so I think that's such a cool statistic, and that's such a tuning challenge and a driving challenge. Pro stock cars, see, a lot of people don't know, we have rev limiters on our motorcycles, but we get to choose them. So if I want to over rev my bike to 15,000 RPM, I can. It's not going to be good for it. But pro stock car, what are they? You know better than I. What are they? 10.5. 10.5. But those guys know that they got power up there still. So, they're going up to, they're got to be within like 50 RPM right when they shift. Like that takes talent. Yeah. Like I don't care who you are. That takes skill. And I'm glad you brought pro stock car up, because that's a very good comparison to it. Well, and then their timing when they're throwing the chutes right at the finish line, they're dumping the laundry and they're not blossomed yet. Like that's cool. It just takes so much time and effort. Yeah.
And the average fan, of course, 330 mile per hour nitro cars, they're amazing. They sound, there's fire. Oh man. But the precision detail of what's happening in both the pro stock classes, amazing. Couple more questions before I let you go. Maybe show us around a little bit. And this one's a little dark, but it is what it is. Once upon a time, I was watching Mario Andretti on Wind Tunnel with Dave Despain, and they were doing this great interview. And Dave asked him a question about like moments that he'd had on the track. And Mario gave a story about the Pikes Peak hill climb. And he talked about how he drove into a corner really, really deep. And like, it was too deep and it was going to be bad, except somehow he pulled it out and he went on and he did real well. And Dave didn't follow up with him, which I was always very annoyed. And if I ever talk to Mario, I'm going to do it. You've had some on-track incidents, Joey, some scary stuff with Corey out there in Charlotte, scary stuff. something. I don't know exactly where it was. Might have been Darlington or Rockingham, somewhere in the South. Scary stuff. You got banged up, but you're able to get back on the bike. The bike doesn't balance itself like a car does. And you've had some moments. What I've been amazed by is your ability to shrug them off and get right back and go out there and be better than you were. I guess you have to have that or you're going to stop evolving as a racer. But those are some serious moments that you've been through.
Yeah. Well, let me turn my low power mode off real quick. There we go.
Yeah,
but yeah, I've had quite a few accidents. Some of them are on YouTube, some aren't. That my most severe injury one-wise, nobody got on video, which is probably a good thing, so I don't want to watch it anyway. I don't want to relive it. But no, I've had quite a few accidents, and when you make enough passes on multiple different kinds of motorcycles, chances are something can and will happen. And mentally I'm ready for that. As far as getting back on it, I prefer to get back on as quick as possible, as soon as my body will let me, to get my mind cleared and say, hey, that's not going to be the end of me. I can do this. I can get back in a groove. I'm not going to let that stick in my mind and say it's going to happen every time. You can't, if you ride any type of these motorcycles, pro stock, grudge, anything, if you ride them scared, oh man, don't ride them. If you're scared of it, don't ride it. Get on something that you're more comfortable with, and work your way up to where you're comfortable. But there's a difference between comfortability and complacency. You have to. That's the exact reason why pit bikes will hurt more people than these drag bikes will. If because you don't respect them. You wheelie them, you do burnouts on them and stuff like that, and then before you know it, you got a broken collarbone because you just fell off in the grass somewhere. And so you have to respect the motorcycle that you're on. You got to know that. And every once in a while, I'll think to myself, like 200 miles an hour, like this, when you come off of it, it hurts really bad. And it's in your mind. But as long as you have that respect for it and you turn that respect into knowing when to lift and knowing when not to lean a motorcycle, or if something doesn't feel right, smell right, sound right, just get out of it. It'd be better to break parts than it would be to break yourself. I had my worst injury. I had it was a kind of a unique deal where I didn't get any warning to when it was going to happen. I was in Darlington, South Carolina, riding a grudge bike that I just purchased. Actually, I rode the bike for 2 years without incident, and it was bad fast. I loved it, so I decided to buy it. And my first nitrous pass, I decided to go from 8th mile. And so I was normally just run 8th mile with it. I was like, let's go quarter mile. I own it now, right? If we burn it up, we burn it up, whatever. Sure. So I'd never taken it to the quarter mile. So I was going about 208 miles an hour, close to the finish line. And right at the mile an hour clocks, all of a sudden the bike washed out. And we haven't really figured out the exact reason yet. It's kind of one of the reasons why I don't ride grudge bikes anymore. They're going extremely fast on stock chassis. And I just decided to hang it up and concentrate on pro stock. But anyway, it didn't give me any warning, and I broke almost everything on this side of my body. And you can see that's part of it right there. Yep. And then it's a year and a half ago, and it still looks like that. Wow. So and then broke my collarbone, had to have surgery on that, and broke 4 ribs, and had to miss an NHRA race, that was the biggest thing I was bummed out about, was missing an NHRA race. And
Oh, you got a text. It's amazing. It's been going. You guys should be sharing this, by the way. Should be sharing this. There he is. He's back.
I just had to deny a phone call. Sorry. But no, then 3 weeks later we had Atlanta, and I trusted I probably wasn't healed enough to do it, but I knew that if I could get my timing correct on the motorcycle, that's why I was talking about timing. And I think in the press room afterwards, it's timing is more valuable than strength. So if I could get my timing right, as far as my launch goes, then it wouldn't hurt too bad. And it worked out. We set, I think we had the track record there for a little while, and I made it to the second round, and I was able to keep myself in the top 10, and that was the ultimate goal. But
until stupid Joe Castello comes and gives you a slap on the shoulder. Hey, Joey, hey, what's going on, bud? And it's like,
that whole year was brutal with that. And nobody could tell that because it's all covered up, and there was no skin like this. The skin came back like it's closed up like 2 months ago, and this was in April of last year. because it took it, even though it's raised right now, it's a keloid scar. It took 3/8 of an inch of meat off my shoulder when it happened. So that took a while for all that to come to the surface and grow back together. And like you said, everybody would come up, and I had a broken collarbone too. So everybody does the whole. I'm 5'5", so everybody always comes up behind me and does the whole shoulder grab thing.
Oh no!
You know, and it would floor me. I remember, I think it was Norwalk of last year. I'm really good friends with the McPhillips family, Rich McPhillips and Rich Jr. And Rich McPhillips is a pretty big guy, and he comes up. I think I was in the semis or something. He's like, "I'm so proud of you," and he just does that. And I'm like a minute before I run, and he just dropped me to my knees. He felt so bad, but it wasn't his fault. Nobody really knew.
Right.
But we joked around for a long time, putting like a "Do Not Touch" sticker over here. But,
Right. Makes perfect sense. All right, let me ask you a couple of things as we're on the home stretch. Okay, Matt Smith running the 2 motorcycles. What's your take? Do you like you said a couple of weeks ago that he was going to be the first one to congratulate you and that he gave you an opportunity early on and you were drinking beer with him after he won Denver and all of that stuff. He's having fun with it. What's your take?
I honestly, Matt's a good guy with me. Me and Matt are all good. We always have been. We talk probably once a week. And I look up to Matt, and I respect the amount of I mean, this is WFO. I respect the amount of balls he has for doing stuff like that. Nobody ever thought that they'd see that scenario because nobody really had the opportunity. Nobody ever had a fast Suzuki and a fast V-twin at the same time that you could just pull out at your own will. You know, we've had a Buell while we had our Suzuki, but never would we thought it'd be a good idea to completely change platforms in the middle of a race. You gotta be a gangster to pull that off. And we all had a meeting about it, and the people had concerns about it. And I was like, I spoke up and I said, look, guys, even if you have the opportunity to do that, you're still bringing out an untested motorcycle. You're taking a shot at the racetrack. You don't have data. It's if you go out, if you bring out a motorcycle at E1 and beat someone like Steve Johnson and go 690 at 198, you got to be a gangster to pull that off. Like, you got to be a badass, and not everybody can do it. And I think that's one of the gripes that people would have with it, is that not everybody can pull that off, but not everybody's Matt Smith. So right. I think there's a bit of a there's some badass stuff to take away from it. You know, like if you can do it, why not? And you can't really, if it's not against the rules, what leg do you have to stand on? If there's enough of a gripe about it, and people think it's that big of a disadvantage, they need to go to the rules committee and get NHRA to change it. But until then, bring it on. Bring out the Red Rocket, whatever you want, Matt.
I like it. No, I like that strategy. Obviously, he said that he was letting the fans vote on it on the stage. He already knew.
I will say the only qualm I have with spare motorcycles, that it's different from cars and funny cars and dragsters. Normally, when you crash one of those, you can hop in another one and do it. 9 times out of 10, when we crash a bike bad enough to where we can't run it, we're messed up pretty bad. Now, there's certain things that can happen. This was brought up in the meeting, in the NHRA meeting. Your chain can break and break a chassis tube. A connecting rod can come out of the front of the motor, put a hole in your chassis tube, which is also your air tank. Now, not only do you got to change the motor in 30 minutes before the finals, you got to weld a plate on there. What warrants bringing out another motorcycle? Does it have to be damage, or can you just do it just because you want to? Can you do it because you think you got a better shot at it today because it's different weather? So those are the things that were brought up. The only thing I don't want to see happen to the class is, with Pro Stock Bike, we all have 1, 2, 3 spare motors. It's part of the deal. It's part of the expense. You know what you sign up for. You're risking your weekend if you come out there with just one motor in your frame rails. However, it would kind of stink to see to have people think that in order to race Pro Stock Bike that you have to have a spare motorcycle too, just like a spare motor, because that's a whole nother expense. Do we really need to do that when we got short fields? The guys with one motor are staying out because the guys that have multiple motors are willing to push them and break cases that we can't get.
Right.
So there's so many different views. I'm like conflicted with it. I'm conflicted with my opinion of it. I don't know much what to think. And there is, like I said, with a case issue, there's a lot of people don't know that Pro Stock Suzukis run 40-year-old cases. And some guys can't get their hands on these cases. You have to know people. You have to call. I've called every junkyard on the East Coast looking for cases. All the 1150 cases are gone, and the ones that people are either worked on too much or they want an arm and a leg for them. So regular people can't really, have all these multiple motors and stuff. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Vance and Hines is making, billet cases. They're in the approval process, but it's going to be another added expense. And how much added expense are we going to keep adding to these classes that have short fields,
Right. No, it makes sense. All right, Joey, this was tremendous. Get to know Joey Gladstone on WFO. And
or do you want to ask Cecil something?
What does Cecil got? Like, if you want to show us around,
how
about you take the phone and just give us a tour, and we'll just watch, and you have the show. Tell us what we're seeing.
Yeah.
If you want to do an interview with Cecil, do it.
Yeah, I'll show you some of the bikes and see how long these things are and how many different variations. There's nitrous bikes, turbo bikes back here. That bike over there, that's a turbo bike, and then there's all motor bikes, and you see there's Austin over there. It's a real working shop. These guys are hard at work while I get to mess around. But some CNC machines. There's Justin Collier in the back.
Justin, what's up, brother?
Yep. Yeah, you know Justin, right, Joe?
I know Justin. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yep. We got 2 CNC machines back here. This is Justin's hideaway right back here.
Yeah, they keep me in the back.
Yeah, they keep him in the back. But no, HTP is really ramping up their production, and they're making a lot of cool billet parts. Anything from turbo manifolds to water block off plates, all types of stuff. And we got brand new motorcycles in here. This motorcycle's probably got. Let me see if I can interview. That's a Gen 3 Busa 2022. It's probably got. See how many miles are on it. Luckily, the key's in it. Let's see. It's got 4 miles on it.
4 miles.
Yeah, and it's probably getting. Yep, it's already got carbon fiber wheels, a swing arm. You'd say these are some of the stuff they do. Carbon fiber wheels. Extended swing arms, all types of stuff. It's probably getting a big motor put in it, some cylinder head work. But this is Cecil's room. Let's see if I can.
Oh my gosh, top secret. Here we go.
Hey, Cecil, can Joe ask you a few questions?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah, how do you turn a guy like Joey Gladstone into a back-to-back winner like that?
Ooh, that wouldn't be me doing it. That was all.
No, you had. No. He has way more to do with it than he's claiming.
Man, them guys put in a lot of work, man. It's just finally paying off, and all the hard work they put in and all the years they've been chipping away at it, it's finally adding up and getting W's now. So,
yeah. What about that? Like the competition out there, right? You're going to battle with Joey. You're doing the tuning, and you're going up against Vance and Hines, Eddie, Angel, Matt Smith. Like, for a guy like you to be able to compete. Right? Like, that competition runs through everyone, including the riders.
Exactly. Everybody in that class, the best of the best. It is the top tier of motorcycle drag racing by far. It's great to be a part of. It's very, like I said, them guys give it to you on the weekend. They are a hard crew to come up and compete against, for sure.
Down the stretch, the next race for you guys, the U.S. Nationals, that would be a good one to go 3 in a row at, and then championship time. So every race matters big time now. How are you going to handle those?
You're exactly right. U.S. Nationals, if you are a drag racer, you can't say that you don't want to win the U.S. Nationals by far. Like, that's awesome. That's a great achievement to say. So we're going to go in that thing full force, give it everything we got, just like we have in the past. We got a little bit of steam rolling with us. We got some, we're having some racing luck. Besides all the hard work and all the effort, you have to have racing luck. Sometimes you can line everything up and just have shit for racing luck and go home in the finals,
Facts.
So, but no, definitely we're going to go, as we have been the last 4 races, go and give it our best and see how we stack up. It's going to be Indy. Hopefully it's not too hot. I know how it can be out there. It can be really hot at the U.S. Nationals, or it can be beautiful. So Let's just all hope for a beautiful weather.
I hope it's
Right.
identical to last weekend.
Yeah.
I
If it's
wonder
identical to
why.
last weekend, yeah,
Wonder
for sure.
why. Well, as long as it's dry is my deal. As long as it's dry.
Yes,
Then again,
for
we're there
sure.
so long, we deal with some weather. Cecil, great job. Congratulations on the win. Back to back.
Thank you,
Joey
sir.
as well. Thanks for showing us around. This is great. Andrew Hines is out there watching, by the way. He says the cases problem will be fixed next year. So we're covering a lot of data right here. Good job.
Yeah, them guys are going to make that right. So that'll be good.
Exciting. All right.
Yes,
Way
sir.
to go. Any
Thank-
final thoughts for the audience out there? Joey, Cecil, anything you want to say to the WFO universe?
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for the support. It's been overwhelming.
Yeah, the sport's been great.
Yeah, it's been badass. We're enjoying the ride. I'm proud of this guy. I'm proud of my team. I love you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
More,
Thank you.
more to come. More to
Yes,
come.
sir.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right,
Later,
man, take
guys.
care.
Later. There he goes. Joey Gladstone with us here on WFO. How great was that? That was fantastic. Just all the details. If you love pro stock motorcycle, look, you're at the drag race. The nitro cars have gone down the track. And there are some people, that's when they want to go to the concession stand or the nitro mall, and they're making a huge mistake, man. You gotta stick around, and you gotta learn who these people are and what they're doing and why it's so amazingly challenging. And you'll become a fan. I didn't grow up around motorcycles. NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle is how I became interested in any kind of motorcycle, even to this date. Like, he's showing me these bikes. I can appreciate the beauty, the machining, the just work of art style nature that it is. I don't have the balance, I don't think, to be out there on a bike. But I appreciate what they do in the racecraft. And Matt Smith, like what Joey said about him being gangster, right? Like, that's what it is. And Matt Smith is one of the greatest that there is. And you think about Eddie and you think about Andrew and those guys, they take it serious. It's not, Jason Lyon used to always say, it's not hobby stock, right? That's a different thing. This is pro stock. These guys are pros at the highest level. Monica says, great interview with Joey. Awesome interview with Joey Gladstone. Truly a great one today, Joe. It's not over yet, by the way, guys. Art, what can anybody say about that interview, Joe? You do a great job. I don't care what anybody says. What are there people saying things that I'm not doing a great job? What? Art? What's that about, Art? You can't shut this off if you love drag racing. Exactly. And we're not done yet. Like, I'm working on getting Justin Bond right now. He was on a flight, guys. That's the thing. Justin Bond, Fuel Tech Pro Mod. He's going to try to come on, but he's on a flight. And I got Tasca at the top of the hour. And that was the deal. Like, Antron could do noon and Tasca could do 2. And of course, that was not optimal that I'd be doing a live stream for 2 straight hours. And it's okay, because I have got other stuff to tell you about in the meantime. Like, of course, our great sponsors. Yes, I know. You hear about the sponsors a lot. But what about the Patreons? Patreon.com/WFO Radio. We got a group of 70 listeners that spend a monthly, help out WFO Radio fee that they decide and they send it in. And I pay my internet bill with it. I do, we do interesting projects. And they get a little swag. They get a pin. Well, they're supposed to get a pin. If Castello would just send them out, right? Get over to the post office, and stickers and some cool screen cleaners and all that stuff. But most importantly, they interact with each other. So if you'd like to join Patreon and support WFO Radio, please do so. And if you don't want to, that's okay too, because that's what we've got sponsors for. Guys like Torque Calibration Services of Australia, all you people down there in Oz, if you need your torque wrenches calibrated, this guy, Matt Clark, is the guy. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, samtech.edu, Marvin Rodak, coffee, roasted fresh per your order, hot sauces, spice rubs, everything's good. Plus Bernie's Speed Shop. This is Josh Hart. How can I help out WFO? That's the question. What you guys are doing, how can I help out? Mike Ashley and Justin Ashley, Phillips Connect. How can they help out this show? And we spend so much time promoting the sport of drag racing. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, FTIperformance.com, transmissions, torque converters, bracket racing, big money bracket racers. Let's get some comment like Spencer Massey, for instance. Justin Bond is just about to land. So inevitably, he'll be available at the same time that Bob Tasca is. But we'll get him on after Tasca. We'll just do the best we can. We're flying the plane here. The WFO store, If you want some gear, some swag, there's a lot of sales. I don't want to be the guy that tells you wait for the sale, but man, the sale prices are really good. So maybe you go to the webpage and you check out all our cool stuff and wait for the sale. I want to save people money. All right, let's get some comments in the comment section. But in the meantime, I went digging around in my dad's drag racing closet. And I just thought that this thing needs to be out in the world. I've been joking about great NHRA collectibles and stuff on the show on a regular basis, the Ignition Show. But check this out. This hat, this is from what, 1982, right? Don Prudhomme Pepsi Challenger foam style trucker hat. 82 to 2022. What is that? 40 years old. This hat that I am rocking right now. Like, and it's sitting in a closet with a bunch of other ones. So I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I got to commandeer the hat, man. I got to take the hat. I got to be rocking this somewhere where somebody that cares about NHRA drag racing could see me rocking this hat and say, my goodness, you've got a 40-year-old cap. How many other people have that? And this thing is in mint condition, by the way. And it will go on sale at the low price. I'm kidding. I'm not selling my dad's hat, man. I just thought you guys would appreciate it. You want to see something else that is just like the funniest collectible ever? How about this? When we used to go to the Gator Nationals, and this has got the date on it, right? 1984. One of those inflatable seat cushions. This is just sitting around the WFO studio, right? I'm not going to inflate it right now because you're not supposed to blow up things while you're on camera. It's like a rule of broadcasting. You don't blow up things while you're on camera. You just don't. And use the, air gun. I'm trying to think of the name, the Air Hawk or whatever. They're not a sponsor, so it doesn't matter. But at the Gator Nationals in 1984, obviously it was so hot out there. You went over and these were a brand new thing. This was new technology at the time. Inflatable seat cushions. And it still holds air to this day. NHRA Championship Drag Racing. Do they still sell this? I don't think the inflatable one was a really good idea. You just get the padded one, man. That's what you get. You get the padded one. Oh, look who it is. It's Bob Tasca. Hello, Go for Joe. What's up, Bob? Just so you know, I'm live on the air right now, Bob. I'm talking to the audience and I'm talking to you. Click that link. No, it's okay, Bob. I'm killing time now. This is a bizarre show. Click the link, enter the studio, and enable your cam, and you should pop right up. All right. So Bob Tasca says he's going on there. Yeah. So I used to do 4 hours of talk radio in the middle of the night from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. when there are not a lot of people out there like take the, calls to make calls to the station. So I learned how to kill time for a long time. And look at this.
There we are.
There he is. You got everybody hyped up. All right. Fans of Bob Tasca, fans of Ford, fans of Nitro, share the show. Bob Tasca just got out of his meeting. He's now joining us. Bob, legit championship contender right now. You can talk to those people. This is very.
No, that was my dad. He just walked in. I'm on Joe's show, Dad. Say hello to the fans.
There he is.
Hello there, fans.
BT2.
BT2.
All right. Back with you.
All right. Do you know how fired up your dad gets on the starting line when you win?
Yeah, he gets just a little, Joe, just a little fired up. I get a little worried about him sometimes. He gets a little too excited. I think he makes too many predictions.
No, he doesn't.
That don't always come true, Joe. But hey, listen, I know one thing. My dad's rooting for me, and there's nothing better than that.
Okay, so he made a prediction. I think it was Norwalk. He might have made a prediction in Bristol. I don't know. But nobody remembers that. The day that he makes the prediction and then you win, they'll remember it forever. And it'll be played on continuous loop thousands of times. So let him keep making the predictions.
All right, you got it. Well, hey, listen, we're excited, Joe. We got a great car, great team. And, I've said it a few times. We looked a little silly earlier in the year. We don't look silly anymore. We've just been working really hard. We didn't have a setup that Mike or John thought that was competitive enough, pretty much as we ended last year and we started off 2022. And they might have sacrificed a few.
Oh, getting a phone call.
Setup that was going to compete for a championship. And what I think I'm most excited about is the breadth of our setup, right? So hot track, cool track,
anything in between, we can go out there and go toe to toe with the top cars. And, this time of year, that's what you need to do.
You've got a great brain trust over there, like John Schaefer, Mike Neff, and those guys. You worked to put them together. Both kind of got rolling at Force years ago, and you have, as on paper, name recognition and resume as good as you can get in the crew chief realm.
Yeah.
But it takes longer to get things where you want them to be than anybody would like, and that's the process. It seems like you guys have been going through for the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, everything changes. Clutches change, floaters change, guys change, and my driving style is different than John Force's driving style. So, everything kind of has to come together as a package. We had, glimmers of brilliance, I would say, last year, early in the season, and then we kind of lost our way as parts changed. This year, I was a little more aggressive. No one could have forecasted the shortages we saw through COVID. But very aggressive buying parts. And we have all the parts and pieces, all the clutch discs, everything that we need to finish out the year so we don't have to go make big changes. And I think this is when John Schaefer and Mike Neff are the most dangerous. They're the most dangerous, in my opinion, when they are now, we call it picking at it, refining it, small adjustments. They get inside a box that they like and they just wear them out. And you saw us do that in Sonoma. We got a little snake bit in Seattle, but back-to-back number one qualifiers. I mean, we definitely performed in Seattle. We just missed it in that second round. And then, very impressed with how the car ran in Topeka. But, this weekend, it's a whole new ball game. You got, cool conditions. I think it's going to be a little prelude to the countdown when you get into some of those fall races. And that's where I think, need to work on our setup a little bit more, is in those ultra good conditions, which I think we're going to see this weekend. And, I'm excited to get behind the wheel. If these guys hit it right, you start talking about low 80 runs, which, Robert did, I think, earlier this year. I mean, those are record setting runs that are going to be out there for the top teams to go and chase between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, this is the national ET record track, 70s runs in the 70s back in the day of the swept-back headers. Going to be amazing to watch. But then, the U.S. Nationals right behind. And your team has peaked exactly when you would need to peak to be a championship contender. But, we heard Troy Coughlin say it a little earlier, worry about the process, not the outcome. How are you guys going to do that to contend for these race wins and championships and that big picture? I know you want to deliver it for Ford, to deliver on a promise. You're in the fight. Every race counts big time now.
Yeah, for me, Joe, I've always approached it, I think, the same way. We got to worry about qualifying at Brainerd. I think if you can just keep your eyes focused on directly in front of you. If you get too far ahead of yourself, you look too far down the track, you never want to get cocky. We're confident. We believe in our team. We believe in the setup that we have, and we're going to just take one run at a time. I mean, like anything else, a little luck doesn't hurt you along the way, which I think, in a lot of these championships, you got to put yourself in a position to take advantage of that. And I think we got all the parts and pieces. Mike and John and I talked in the trailer, and they're excited. I give them the resources they need to buy whatever they need. And we're in a really good place right now. We're very pleased with the setup. And I love the fact that we're going right into Brainerd, back-to-back races to, just pick up where you left off. And then we got a week off and you go into Indy. And Indy's a big race because it's 1.5 points for those that don't know that. And when you look at that race and you look at the points, every spot you move up helps you, going into the playoffs. So I've been to the finals twice in Indy, once in a nitro car, got beat by Mike Neff. So we can't get beat by him this year. Uh-huh. And I was in the finals, I think twice in my alcohol car, actually got beat by Manzo. So I love racing in Indy, and we'll see how we do to close out these next two races.
All right. Very good. I see Justin Bond down there. He'll be on right after you, Bob Tasca, for the fans of Pro Mod. 4-0 in final rounds against John Force, as it was reported this past weekend. When someone brought that up in the media center, you gave that same smile you just gave, and you alluded to like maybe I know something. Like, I don't know. It's a great record to have. It's shocking. The guy's the greatest of all time. You have demonstrated your great respect for him and his abilities. But what about that 4-0 against Force?
Hey, listen, first off, I make it very clear. I think the guy's superhuman. I think what he did when he was in his 40s and 50s it pales into comparison to what he's doing in his 70s. I mean, for him to get in and out of that car, 100-degree weather, race in and race out, banging heads with the young guns, us top guys. I mean, the guy is an incredible competitive nature. And I think he's instilled a lot of that in me. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, but, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for John Force. I mean, he kind of took me under his wing when, I'd never even been behind the wheel of anything real fast. He taught me a lot about just a driver, being a team owner. And how can you not get up against the greatest of all time? I mean, how many athletes, how many people get to compete against the greatest that has ever done it? And when you have that chance, for me, it's just an opportunity to go out there and rise to the occasion. And I think you see that in all the greats out there that have won. When the chips are on the line, you're in the final round, you have to perform, you have to step up. Nobody's done it better than him. And to have that 4-0 record against them, hey, listen, I could live to be 1,000 and not achieve what he's achieved, but to have that 4-0 record, that's a pretty big accomplishment for me personally, and obviously have the utmost respect for John. And hey, listen, he's got as good a chance as anyone out there to win the championship. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's got his fans, and just getting to the final round for those fans are exciting. But you've got your fans too, and a lot of them are in the fam. Like, let's talk about the boys. They're bringing in energy though, Bob. Like I was watching, I saw kind of a cool moment out there. First of all, I got a picture here of you and Antron, seeing you and Antron, and you had some great words for him as a team owner. He's experiencing what you experience now, the paying the bills and all of that stuff. But I saw Anson, I saw your boys, I saw Autumn Height, like this pack of young people that have grown up around drag racing and nitro drag racing in particular, and they're all friends and they're talking about stuff. And I just thought, man, that's really a cool experience that they're having. These kids, like, they know stuff that their friends probably can't even begin to relate to.
Well, it's a family. I mean, like anything else, we're out there, wanting to run each other over on the racetrack and chop the tree down. But at the end of the day, we're all family, and Robert's daughter and my kids are really close. And Antron, I mean, my kids grew up with Antron's kids, and, when Antron became a team owner, I was one of the first phone calls he made, and, always have an open line for Antron. Love the guy. He's just all heart, and so happy for him to get that win, because I know the struggles that he was going through, but there ain't no way that kid's giving up. So it was awesome to see that. I mean, and I love Torrence. I mean, my wife and Steve's wife are very friendly, and I'm in the final round. Terry comes up to me. She goes, "Who do we root for?" I said, "No, you can't root for either one. You just got to, celebrate with the one that wins." And, that's what makes drag racing so special, is the friendships and the families that are interwoven. And, it was a fun day. It was a fun day for me and Antron to share that win together.
You have clinched the countdown, which is a part of, get qualified, right? Like, accomplish that goal. You've clinched the countdown. You're going to run for the championship. And, we're thinking about how that's all going to go. You say don't get out too far, but just that macro deal of running for a championship over the course of 6 races. It's right around the corner. You've also got this Pep Boys All-Star call out. Like, did you qualify for that? I think you must have.
Oh,
Bob.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle that?
Well, I think, I don't know, a few races ago, I was probably going to be the first one called out. I don't know if I'll be the first one called out anymore, but we'll see. At the end of the day, it don't matter, who calls you out or who you race. We got to run as hard as we can run on the racetrack that we have under us. And I think that's Mike Neff's and John's philosophy has always been, it doesn't matter who we race. As much as people think it does or doesn't, we got to go down the lane that we're in as quick as we think we can. And as long as you do that and you do the best you can on the tree, the outcome is the outcome. I mean, you can't control what's going to happen in the other lane. And, we want to win Indy. We want to win the shootout. I mean, we have a mindset right now that we have a car that can roll into any race and put ourselves in a position to win. And the countdown is real simple, Joe. I mean, there's no margin of error. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. The good news is guys like me and, maybe Force and Caps, we get to wipe out Robert's lead, right? Bad news is that if you blink, you're going to be running for second. And that's what happened with us last year. We just didn't have the setup to run with them. And we went out the first two races in the first round and the show was over. We went to the finals in St. Louis. We won Pomona. I mean, we did not have a terrible countdown. We finished third in the world, but we bobbled the ball early and the show was over. So you got to come out of the box strong. You probably can afford maybe one hiccup, and then that's it. You better be going rounds and semifinals and finals and wins. And if you can do that, if you can just do what I did the last 5 races at the end of the year, you probably win the championship, right? You go to 4 final rounds in 5 races, win 2 of them.
Yep.
You probably win the championship. And we've proven that we can do it. We just have to get our timing right and do it when it matters.
The countdown. I asked Antron this question as a final question. I'll ask you as well, just because he had an answer ready, and maybe you do or maybe you don't. But there's a lot of talk right now about the participation trophy nature of we created the countdown to add some drama to maybe not making it, and then we got rid of that because of the pandemic and we didn't know who was going to go where, and I understand that. But the question that's just being bantered about, and it's no criticism to anyone, it's just like, should we bring back the old if you don't qualify, you don't qualify thing? Or should we continue with this way, which is friendlier to sponsors, and maybe you finish 11th and you're 1 point behind and you showed up at every race? Do you have a take?
Well, I mean, here's my take. My take is Tony Pedregon pulled me aside going in Norwalk, and he said, I think I was 7th or 8th in the points. And he said, it's real simple, brother. If you don't get your shit in gear and get in the top 5, you ain't going to be part of the conversation. So the whole, I guess, making the countdown, qualifying for the countdown sounds good, feels good. But Robert did it once. Okay, Robert qualified 10th and won the championship. But the harsh reality is, if you're not in the top 5 or 6, you got your work cut out for you, right? So I guess my take is I've never really cared about finishing 10th to qualify for the championship, right? We've always wanted to be in that top 5 so we could position ourselves to really run for that championship. I see the point, and hey, listen, I finished a couple of years in the number 11 position, and it's a bummer, right? It's a bummer for the sponsors. I think what NHRA has done is good. It's a good incentive to get the teams to go to the races, because if we don't have cars, we don't have a show, and no one likes a 12-car field or a 14-car field, right? So I think there's merit to it, but anyone who qualifies, goes to every race and ends up number 12, number 13, and they're in the championship run, I mean, their hopes will be over by Charlotte.
Right. They're not going to win is the point. That's the point.
So
they're not going to win.
They're not going to win. And I think everyone knows that. I think I think it does create some drama for 8, 9, 10, and 11 when it's tight going into the last race. I think there's some drama there, which isn't bad for the sport. But as far as I'm concerned, if you're not in the top 5 or 6, you're really not in the conversation unless you can make some big noise the first 3 races, right? So I don't know if I really mind it the way it is, Joe, to be honest with you. I think there's not enough cars in the field to be running people out. But then again, it doesn't really matter because number 12 and 13, 11, they really don't have a chance at the championship, in my opinion.
Copy that. Bob, thank you for making the time for us here today. Super show, baby. Started with Antron at noon. Now we got you. We'll see you in like tomorrow or the day after.
See you in a day, Joe. Always great to be on. Talk soon. Bye.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you. Bob Tasca with us here on WFO Radio. And we're going to bring it home. We promised Justin Bond, Fuel Tech Pro Mod winner. I can't believe we've been on so long, but this is how it is with WFO. We have one day to do this show, and Justin Bond just got off a plane, and now he joins us. Perfect timing, Justin. We worked it out. How about that?
Yeah, just really fortunate. I literally just got through customs. I made it about 8 feet and sat down in a chair.
Well, it's great. All right. So what a crazy race this past weekend, because we've got, Chris and Ricky and Chris and Stevie goes down. Ricky beats Chris, and then you run Ricky, and like you climbed all the hurdles and you won it. And it was on your birthday to boot. Like, what a great weekend that was for you guys.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, there's only 2 or 3 races this year I'm going to be bringing my kids to. And this was one of them. I don't let my kids come to the starting line or whatever. I make them sit in the stands. And this race, in the final, I borrowed a golf cart and I said, hey, just all the kids sit on the golf cart. And if I happen to win, I told Brittany, bring all the kids down to the finish line. So they got to sit off at the side. And it was just one of them, once in a lifetime deals, I think. I got on the really good side of the ladder by fluke.
Yep.
By not making Q3 when my throttle cable wasn't hooked up. And I was upset, but I always said, I always look at these things like maybe it was meant to be that way. Maybe that was the run I was going to wreck or something. And sure enough, I think what would have happened is I would have ran faster and put on the other side of the ladder.
Wow. I look at things like that too. You catch a red light. Don't get angry. You never know what was ahead. You just don't know. That's the cosmic forces out there.
Yeah, that's right.
So how tough is it out there in Pro Mod right now? Some people complaining about car count, and I get it, but the cars that are there are amazing.
Well, so here's the thing. We had a drivers meeting at Topeka, and I'm the leader of the why is the car count suck so bad conversation, and others in our group, and Stevie Fast being the leader of the response of it is too hard to win over here. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's very hard. I mean, in 3 race seasons, but in, let's call it 2 calendar years, I've managed to pull three races together, and I'm just super fortunate. I mean, there's guys out there that I'm racing against that have 0 Wallies. It's tough. And when I talked to him this morning, he basically said to me, we're talking about the D-Wagon shootout, which I'm sure you're going to bring up, but
yes,
we were talking about a ladder today, and it's like, there's nobody on there that you don't care to rate. Like every person on there is a hitter on that ladder. So you're like, you can't avoid the bullet. Like years ago when there was 32 cars coming, we would get 16, and maybe 12 to 16 were, maybe 1 out of every 4 runs, they were going to be a killer. So you would hope that if you raced them, you got one of their 3 out of 4 runs where they weren't so great. But when you have 12 cars, like everybody can crack one off every run. So that is the 12 best cars. I do believe that.
Interesting. Yeah. It's, depends on what kind of show you want to see. If you want to see a big qualifying show where there's 30 cars and a couple of them are running 599 or 60, and or you want to see like this amazing show like we saw this past weekend where it's heavy hitters just slugging it out, I'll take what comes. And so let's focus on Brainerd now. Couple of years we've been going there. You mentioned the D-Wagon shootout. I think the greatest marketing deal ever, right? You got the people in the zoo. All they do is tow around trailers, and they're building their own with like wood and planks and stuff. No, man, this is what you guys should be in a D-Wagon, and you guys are going to be in a specialty race. You're going to race twice this weekend.
Yeah, and I think it's really amazing. I think it's great for our class. I think it's great for the sport. I think it's crummy that it's not attracting more cars. I ran at Brainerd last year and actually wrecked. Was number 1 qualifier on a legal single Saturday or Sunday morning, and had a parachute situation that pushed me into the wall. But the reality of it is the fans at Brainerd are awesome. I cannot wait to see them. The seats are packed for all classes, but Pro Mod, Top Fuel, of the like. And you can be going across the scale at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning just to double check your way to your car, and they're already standing there cheering you on with no shirt on, telling you that they can't wait to see you run. And I think that I'll probably buy myself a D-Wagon this race because I think they're so awesome. I think that the zoo is epic. And up here in Canada, we got lots of big country, so I could use one of those little trailers myself, I think.
Yeah, they did a great job with that and putting that together. I'm looking at the points. You're sitting third in the points. Chris Thorne just having an unbelievable year. He's 100 up on Ricky for the most part, and Ricky's 100 up on you. Just one of those years where Chris has gotten those wins, but big race wins still out there. You got Indy. Well, you got this race. So how do you foresee like where you're at?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to go. My mantra is going to be, I'm just going to go out there and have fun. When I went and sat there last year and put all this pressure on myself, and when I crashed, I had to have another car, and I drove a car that I didn't feel great in. And I just don't find that I don't make great decisions. I think at the end of it all, if I sit here and just say, I want to go out there and I want to have fun, and every evening I want to be able to sit down with my crew and high five and say, what a great day. And we'll look at the points on the second to last race or something and see where it's at. I think, the fate of the points is kind of out of all of our hands, to be honest with you. I think that Chris Thorne has had an amazing year. I think he's a great driver. The young man, or whatever, he's not much younger than I am, but the guy is just killer on the tree. He's doing it from the outside. You know, lots of times his tuner is not there. He's doing a great job, and you know, hats off to them. I can't take nothing away from those people. But it's when it's your day, it's your day. And I think when it's your year, it's your year. Like when you're going to win the championship, you're going to win the championship. And I don't know that he's definitely going to win the championship, but I think the cards right now are being held by him for sure.
Yeah. You got to show up and make it tough on him regardless. You got to play, you know,
that's right.
Sports analogy. You got to play to the very last second, no matter what, because you just don't know what's going to happen. What do you think of the parity of the class right now? Looking at the performances this week.
I think it's close, but I think this weekend is going to dump a different thing on the situation. I think what's going to happen is it's going to be cool. It's going to be crisp. I think the track is going to be fast. I think the glue, the track prep, everything's going to be right. My from the outside looking in, thinking that the Roots is going to run awesome. I think the Screw Charger is going to run awesome. I think the Pro Charger is going to run pretty damn good itself. I don't know that the Pro Charger will be in the front. I suspect, if I'm going to bet, the Pro Charger is going to be the third fastest car there, but I think we're all going to be semi-tightly grouped, and I think that the nitrous car will be okay. But I just think that parity in its own, and I say this all the time, it's a moving target, and it's very, very difficult. And it's kind of like I said, it's one of those conversations I hate to get into, because sometimes it's just a matter of opinion.
Right.
And I think that my opinion is just one. And I think that we should let data make the decisions, not really opinions.
Oh, well, that's what they say. If you don't have data, you've got an opinion.
That's right.
It's not a fact. Justin, this has been awesome. Anything you want to let our audience know before we let you go? Hopefully they'll all be headed up there, either to Indy, certainly, or to the Lucas Oil Nationals in Brainerd. But is there anything you want to direct them social media wise? You got it. Take it away.
Yeah, you can. I just want to tell them all to, like, you know, go to our JBS Motorsports or Bahrain One Racing Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, the like, and also come by the pits, say hello, maybe see if you can get a T-shirt from us or an old used up part, or, you know, we as the drivers and as the team, the crew, especially the guy working on the back of the car that's scraping all the rubber off, he enjoys it when a fan walks by and says, hey, I seen how you did last weekend, and that's awesome. Or, hey, I'm sorry to see that you didn't have a great outing. Like, we need to be cheered on, you know. A lot of it we do for our own personal gratification, but it's also nice to know that people out there care. You know, it makes you feel different when you know if I didn't show up, I'd be missed. How about that?
Yeah, great attitude. Totally agree. And that's why we always send them back there. Justin, thanks for making the time. I know you did some backflips to make this happen, and I appreciate it.
Right on. I got to get going to work. Have a good day, guys.
Do it. Talk
Bye-bye.
soon. Justin Bond. We'll see you in a couple of hours. There he goes. And what a show this has been. We got them all, baby. We got them all because we hadn't had to do it. Like, you have to do it. And we got it in. From Antron Brown to Troy Coughlin Jr. to Joey Gladstone to Bob Tasca to Justin Bond. And you might be thinking, well, you could have got a couple of them next week. And next week, we want to focus on the Dodge Power Brokers U.S. Nationals. Guys, if you like this show, if you like the concept of this show, if you like the attitude of the show, if you like the fact that the racers like being on the show, there's a couple of things that you can do to help us out. The first is to share the show. on YouTube. They've got a great little thing. Share Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to send it, you can send it. You can tell your friends about it. We don't do big marketing exercises because we're the mom and pop store, guys. Going up against the big corporations out there in the world, you know, you think about like MRN and PRN and all of these different things where they're creating content for people. WFO Radio, we are the mom and pop store working our best to hang in there. And we're hanging tough. And it has been great to see the response, to get a guy like Bob Tasca to put down what he's doing, to come on the show for a few minutes, or Justin Bond, or Joey Gladstone. How great was that? Like, how much more do you know about Joey now? Because we talked to him for literally 45 minutes, and they'll tell you, oh, nobody's got attention, the ability to pay attention to anything for that long. And I understand it. But at the same time, the people who really want to will. And now Joey's got fans that he didn't have 2 hours ago, because they know exactly what kind of a passionate person he is about this sport. And that's what WFO is about. We do it differently. We forego those quick views like, oh yeah, you don't get 100,000. No, we don't. We get a lot of intense viewing with people who really focus and watch. And if they really care, they'll check it out in segments. They'll check it out in bits, and they'll watch it along the way. But at some point, good things must come to an end. And this week's programming on WFO has done just that. The archive is loaded. Do you know we have a free mobile application for your iPhone or your Android? Right there on WFOradio.com. Just click subscribe, and you can figure out where and how to listen best. But the WFO app is a great way to do it. It is free. Android, Apple. You can watch the videos. You can get to the WFO Radio store. You can get to all of our stuff right through the mobile application. I'm actually, it's time for a new website. Anybody know how to do that? It's time for a new WFO Radio website. I'm working on that behind the scenes as well. Oh yeah, like looking to expand. And there are a couple of things that are a challenge, right? But we're still going to knock it out no matter what. What a show this has been. This was great. The racers that were on all were fun. Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, when Tasca said 2 and Antron said noon, I was like, oh boy. But that's what WFO is about. Our ignition show is in the archive. Reinhart yesterday was great stuff. And we just had so much fun. Me and Joey up on the stage there. Justin Bond. This one was Jack from Cycle Drag sent that. I'm glad I camped out on it. Look at Antron. Oh, by the way, get ready for Steve Torrence to be on real soon. If you haven't been following, that Capco team is like, we're still here. And I said at the start of the year, and I'm bringing it up over and over again because I'm proud of my bold prediction. Best season ever. It's shaping up just like it. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. That's where you can find the show. And tell your friends. That's really, the word of mouth is the best way to do it. We try real hard here on WFO, and we get results from time to time. See you in Brainerd, guys. Be cruising around the zoo. It's going to be outrageous. Stay safe out there. WFO.